Hello and welcome to the Dragon's Lair podcast in association with Riverside Sports Bar, the home of live sport and great food in Newport. I'm Jamie and joining me for this one is Gareth Leclerc. Hello Gareth, how are you?
And Jamie, all good? Yep. You've already told me I can't say it's quite a victory pod, but I'm edging ever closer to getting one over the line, I think.
It was a friendly though, it's not classed as a competitive game. It's a
not
shame.
quite, but
It's a real
still happy
shame.
to see a win.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And it's a return to the pod for Gavin Thomas. Gav, welcome back. How are we?
I'm very well, thank you. Yes, I've come back from my short-lived exile because I was at the party, not because I was exiled. And looking forward to talking about the season to come and to be the negative side of Gareth positive coin.
You won't be as negative as me, mate. I'm always told I'm the negative one on this pod. So, yeah, you're in good company. So it's that time of the year where we do our big season preview pod. And there's been a lot of changes at the Dragons. We got new players, new coaches. But will it really be a new era for the club? Or will it be the same old Dragons? Well, joining us to help answer that question is Ryan Price from the Dragons Official Supporters Club. Welcome, Ryan. How are you?
Afternoon. Thank you very much. I'm good. I'll take it as a victory pod if no one else will.
Are you feeling optimistic, Ryan?
There we
That's
go.
the question. Are you feeling optimistic? Yeah.
Yes.
That's a good start. Oh, okay.
Yes, I think I am. I mean, I'm sure we'll touch on sort of some of the recruitment shortly, but it's been a really busy summer. A lot of churn. You can really tell it's probably the first time TAT has had the chance to try and put his stamp on things. So on paper, it looks like a really strong recruitment year. However, I've been very much guilty of saying this many times previously, and it hasn't come to pass that it's made any significant change. So yes, I will withhold my judgment for now.
Yeah, we've been here before, haven't we? That's the problem. Us long-suffering Dragon supporters, we've seen this all before. Big recruitment drives, new coaches, new players, same old Dragons. So, we all know the story by now. So before we get into it then, Ryan, do you just want to talk a little bit about yourself and explain what your role is in the Supporters Club?
Yeah, certainly. So I've been a member of the Supporters Club since its inception and on the committee since then as well. So I've been in the role of treasurer. I mean, we don't sort of control huge purse strings, so nobody come begging for funding to support our next signing for the Dragons. But we largely sort of run away support travel. We sort of lead a lot of the official level engagement with the Dragons board. We're sort of really quite heavily involved currently in the WRU consultation process and representing the supporters club during that and making sure that us and Dragons management are lined up as far as we can in that space.
Excellent. Okay. What about club though? I know you're a Dragons fan, but do you have a local club do you support?
So I've been a Pontypool fan for longer than I can remember as well now. So I don't get up there as often as I would like to. But I sort of try and get up to the park maybe sort of 3-4 times a year, and then obviously when they play down in Cardiff as well, where I happen to live at the moment. Sorry, it's a good opportunity to get down the Arms Park and see them there as well. So yeah, Pontypool, my club in the Super Rugby Camry, and I live just up the road from St Peter's in Cardiff, so I try and get down there and watch a bit of club rugby there as and when I can. My playing days sadly long behind me now.
Lovely stuff. Favorite memory as a Dragons fan?
I think it's probably got to be the European quarter final in Gloucester in 2016. I think we went down there just absolutely happy to have got out of the group, to be honest. So there were very, very low expectations. We took a huge number, to be honest. Loads and loads of fans down there. Fantastic win, last minute driving maul, score in the corner. And then I had to get the train to Bristol for a friend's stag do. So it was a very, very long day.
I bet. Charlie Davis, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Quality. What a day.
Yeah.
Yes, sadly.
Were you there, Gareth?
Those were the days. Those were the days. I went to the shed last season as well, to be fair. Not quite the same without the Dragons there, because we outsung them that day.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic day out.
Good stuff. Okay, then. Thank you for that, Ryan. Let's move on to news then. News desk. Quite a bit of news to get through. So, the biggest news of the week, from a Dragons perspective, was former Wales fly-off Patchell has retired. And he's joined the Dragons as a part-time kicking coach. So the 32-year-old will spend 2 days a week at the club. Patchell will be working closely with fly halves such as Tina Stabia, Angus O'Brien, Jack Lloyd, Harry Ford, and Kai Evans, who's on the comeback trail from a serious Achilles injury. Now, Gavin, I know you're a massive Patchell fan. You were leading a campaign for us to sign him. Well, we have signed him, not as a player, as a coach. What's your thoughts on this recruitment?
Well, at the time I did say sign Patchell, we riot. So I haven't gone full riot, so I tipped over a chair in the kitchen, which felt appropriate. But no, the bloke can't play professional rugby anymore. So I'm not going to force him just so he can fulfill some whim of mine. But I think he's a solid signing, isn't he? In terms of his ability, his knowledge, his experience. So, it's not exactly what I wanted, but it'll do.
Gareth?
Yeah, I think it's great. I think he's a top class player, wasn't he, in his day? I think having his experience around the club, especially with some of the younger kickers in the team beyond Tinas, I think it's just good to pad out the coaching team as well. We've always seemed to be a bit light on the ground, so yeah, happy that people are taking specialist roles. We're a professional outfit. We should have scrum coach, lineup coach, kicking coach, everything. We often spread a bit thin, so yeah, pretty happy with it. A shame to see him hang up his boots because I felt he still have something to offer. But yeah, definitely a positive move.
Yeah, I think so too. What about you, Ryan? Getting Patchell in to help with the fly-offs?
I think when your sort of performance levels have been as ours have been, I think you need to be as good as you can be at the bits that you can control specifically. So in terms of your set piece, in terms of making sure when we win penalties on the park, we're able to make the most of having 22 meter line out launch plays rather than being back on halfway of the 10-yard line. And when those points are on the table from penalties that we can try and take the score there, I think it's really important to certainly a team like us to maximize those opportunities. So I think the more we can get in that space and the more we can try and maximize those elements is good. I think the point that's made just then was really important as well. Just having these sort of names and experience around the dressing room, even in a coaching capacity, I think is really, really helpful. The more you can just try and raise that standard by any means necessary, I think will be really helpful.
You've both made a really valid point to think about set piece and kicking and those things. They are technical matters, and whilst clearly the quality of player does have an impact on it, they are things that you can improve more than certain other aspects of the game. So the fact it's a good starting point, but I think I'd like to see a scrummaging coach, a line-out coach too.
Hopefully, Patchell will improve our fly-off goal kicking because that was a big problem last season, as Buttress talked about on the pod, didn't he? We talked about that Ulster game. That's the one that stands out in my mind. So this won't surprise you. Got some stats about our goal kicking from last season. So Dragons had a success rate. Well, how much do you think it was? What was in percentage terms? What do you think the Dragons' success rate for kicking penalties was?
Average is about 75, 78%. 66.
Ryan?
Yeah, I thought the average was higher than that, so I was going to put us a little bit higher on the charts. But I mean, clearly, I don't know, 68, 69.
Yeah, I'd have thought you'd been up around like top players around the 90% mark. So I would have thought we'd have been mid-70s. But it's the big ones we missed as well, those big pressure kicks, which seems to have plagued us the last few seasons. Yeah, I'll go 72.
Okay, so our success rate for kicking penalties in the URC was just 62.5%.
Oh, my days.
Which is not surprising. It's not surprising at all. For conversions, it's slightly higher. It was 69.8%. We did not score any tries from kicks last season. So hopefully with Tinas on board, because he was trying a couple of cross kicks yesterday, wasn't he, in fairness? I can see us scoring a few more tries from kicks with Tinas at 10, but it's not surprising at all, those stats, is it? And that's something that has got to be improved, our goal kicking, because it did cost us games last season.
Yeah, and it's clearly good that they're identifying where the issues are and doing, at least taking steps to try and address them and in more than one way. It's really easy to sort of just see the whole homogenous mass as an issue, but actually really drilling down and working out where those weaknesses are and trying to improve those, I think, just in and of itself has to be a positive.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, moving on then. Gareth, you wanted me to talk about this, didn't you? Allocation for Super Rugby Camry. So the Gwent teams, they've got their Dragons allocations. So Ebervale, your club, Gav. You got Regan Jones, Sam Walters, Harry Beddle, Owen Conker, big fan of him, Carter Pritchard, Harry Rees-Weldon, and Harry Dawes. Newport's got Jordan Morris, Cody Purnell, Nick Thomas, Kerrick Smith, T. Chatnam, Logan Franklin, Ollie Woodman, Noah Morgan, and Joe Salter. And then your club, Ryan Pontypool, you've got, some familiar names actually. George Tuckley, Owen James, Luke Daniel, Ryan Jones, Evan Minto, Harry Ford, Morgan Carter, and Reece Cole, who scored a double for Dragons up in Hartbury. Gareth, do you want to say anything about that?
No, nothing particular. I just think it's really good that, we are making sure our youngsters are getting game time. I think it does raise the standard of the SRC when you've got the quality Welsh youngsters coming through. Maybe a touch surprised to see someone like Beddle on there, but then in reality, she's going to be behind Thomas Young. I guess Keddy's probably the next cab off the rank at 7. So, you want to see him having a lot of game time, being a young lad. And if anything, it makes you want to go out and watch some SRC games as well. When there's our players, our young, bright prospects playing within the region, this can only be a good thing. So, yeah, I think it's pleasing. One thing to touch on as well, I know this been a bit of complaints of the numbers aren't completely even, but it is spoken with, from what I understand, with the clubs. So as an example, Ebervale like to have their players in camp as much as possible, in training, not away with the Dragons. So they've got slightly less. And it's a decision between the clubs and the Dragons. It's not, look, you're having them and put up with it. So all the clubs, from what I understand, should be happy. So supporters can stop their moaning on that one.
Yeah. It's a fair point. And, we should all be watching more Super Rugby Camry, shouldn't we? Because our boys are involved in it. And yeah, it's a good product. It is a good product. I've been over Spitty to watch Newport RFC a few times. And okay, it's a different standard of rugby. Don't get me wrong, the skill set isn't quite there. The intensity isn't quite the same as URC, but it's quite entertaining. The derby I went to, Newport Cardiff, in the festive period, is one of the best games of rugby I've seen in ages. It was brilliant. But yeah, so that's the Super Rugby Camry allocation. Don't know if you got any further thoughts on that, Gavin or Ryan? Or
I was just going to say that with the SRC, it's been televised more now as well.
Yeah.
S4C showing more games. So there's definitely, fewer reasons not to watch it. And there is some good rugby being played there.
Yeah, I was a little skeptical, I'll be honest, at the start of last season that it was just another rebrand of the sort of top tier, the semi-pro game. Again, something that we've been through many times over the last 20 years or so. But I hold my hand up. I thought it was a really entertaining product. I think they've really stepped up their game in the marketing of it. I think it's being presented far better. I mean, from my perspective, I think Evan Minto, I think, is a hell of a talent, and I'm kind of torn between wanting to see him out more for the Dragons, but also wanting to see him sort of up at the park as well. But just watching him, actually got a lot of televised time during the under-20s, so yeah, really looking forward to seeing him again.
On that as well, it's a great way to drive attendances for all the regions. Like if you see a local player you really like the look of, you're excited about watching them, and then they're getting their breakthrough chance, and you go, oh, actually, I'll tune in, I'll watch that regional game, or I might go down, and that's how you draw fans in as well. So I think having the best of our youngsters playing in the SRC helps that further down the line.
Definitely, I think there's an argument for moving or playing some of the age grade stuff at some of these grounds as well, because I understand why they play them all at Ushard Mannock. You've got the base there, you've got all of the backroom stuff that you need, but it's a pretty sterile place to go and watch rugby, and it's pretty difficult to get to sometimes. If you were having the age grade stuff at Rodney Parade up at Eugene Cross Park or Pontypool Park or Pandy Park, I know they did have one of the games there fairly recently, but I think that's another way of getting people in at that time to see those younger players really playing.
Yes, good shout.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, then moving on then, under-18s news. Our under-18s boys are doing very well. So, on September the 7th, Dragons under-18s travelled up to North Wales to play RGC, and they won 17-41. That's a cracking result for them up north. Tough place to go. And then on Sunday, the under-18s hosted Scarlets at a very wet and windy Ystrad Mannock, and they won 12-10 in absolutely wretched condition. So fair play, boys. I'm really pleased to see our under-18s and our youth doing so well. It's really encouraging, isn't it? What do we think?
Is that 3 on the bounce for the under-18s?
I think it is, isn't it? Who did we play before RGC? I'm sure
I
it
can't
is.
remember the last time we
Didn't they lose
Oh,
to
Ospreys.
Cardiff and beat Ospreys before that?
So it will be 3 on the bounce. It would be Ospreys, RGC, and Scarlets. Yeah, you're right.
I mean, I need to just start go watching them, to be honest.
This is a Dragon side that's winning.
Yeah, do you know what? It seems to be all the Dragon sides that was it the All Stars won something before as well?
The wheelchair boys.
Wheelchair, yeah. We're fantastic. It's just the main team. But yeah, no, that's awesome, isn't it? And yeah, they seem like they're playing some good stuff. Maybe not so much today. I haven't seen the highlights yet from the Sunday match, but with those conditions. But yeah, fair play. They were future's bright as long as they got a chance to have someone to play.
We'll talk about that in a bit. But yeah, well done to the under-18s. Cracking results. Right, before we move on, I want to do a quick plug. I did a collaboration pod with the 1912 Exiles, talking about the implications on Newport County and businesses in the city centre. We had Dan on from the Riverside Sports Bar, who sponsors both podcasts, and he told us if there's no professional sport in Newport City Centre, then he'd be out of business. So it's quite worrying times for local businesses, quite worrying times for us and Newport County. It's done very well, apparently, that pod on their platform. So we've had really good feedback on it. We focused a lot on the implications for Gwent, but we didn't really focus on the implications for Newport City Centre. Because obviously, Rodney Parade is in Newport. Newport is Wales' third largest city, so it's going to have a devastating impact if there's no professional sport played there. So that's out now. You can listen to that on all the usual pod platforms. I do recommend, if you are a Newport County supporter as well, go check out the 1912 Exiles. It's a really good pod. Ryan, I want to come to you now. Obviously, as part of the supporters club, you've had meetings and liaisons with the WRU and stuff. What's your take on what's happening in Welsh Rugby now, this optimal solution, WRU, 2 teams, East and West? What's your take on it, mate?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's no surprise, really. I think my position, as I think many people's are, is it's a very, very extreme solution that I'm not sure is actually based on a huge amount of accurate facts. There's an enormous amount of disinformation in the background that's being paraded as fact, and therefore this is the only route forward. I mean, we are told repeatedly that the finances are not there within the Welsh game to support 4 professional sides. And whilst there is clearly an element of truth in that, a huge proportion of that is down to decisions that the WRU have taken over the previous 20 years. It is not something that has sort of happened for no particular reason. In terms of their own internal cost control, in terms of what they are choosing to spend the capital receipts from sort of the CVC money for both the League and the Six Nations on, there are decisions that have been taken that have led us to this position. So I don't think it feels like they are trying to shy away, and they being the WRU in this scenario, from actually why we are in this position in the first place. It's not something of the region's own making entirely. Yeah. If you look at the consultation document that the union have published as well, it's also quite clear that this 2-team optimal solution from them isn't really about sort of concentrating and enhancing playing budgets. I think they're talking of playing budgets of £8 million for each of the 2 sides, which is obviously £16 million in total. I mean, to put that into perspective, the money that was on the table for the RPA that we just signed was £26 million a year across the 4 regions. So actually, the what you're talking about here is it's not about consolidating those budgets. If you had 2 teams with £13 million playing budgets, then I'm not necessarily saying that would be the right way to go, but I can see the logic behind that and going, we can have 2 absolutely supercharged sides. What it's designed to do is to free up, I think it's about £25 million over 5 years for the WRU to spend on other things. Now, some of those things are entirely valid. I think the proposal around professionalising some of the women's games and aligning those 2 teams within this existing structure, or within a broader professional structure, I think is really, really important. There are clearly things that need to be enhanced in terms of the international end of the professional game, but it is being marketed, I think, or marketed is the wrong word, it's being presented in, I think, a slightly hidden way, if it's possible to say that. And I think actually this isn't really about consolidation, which is what it's being sold as. It's really about freeing up money to do other things. We had a supporters club event a couple of weeks ago now that's sort of trying to bring all the perspectives together. We've done quite a comprehensive review of that. Myself and Dan, the chair of the club, are hoping to go in with the WRU next week, I believe. So they are meeting with not only the management of the 4 regions, but also the official supporters clubs of each of the 4 regions as well. So we will have an opportunity then to put forward the case as we see it, both from, I said, our own personal views, but also reflecting what we've been able to canvass from the supporters clubs.
Good stuff. What did you think of the fan survey with the leading questions? Did you complete that, and what was your thoughts on that?
I haven't completed it yet myself. But that was certainly some of the feedback that we got from that supporters club event, was that the questions look designed to lead you down, well, there is only one possible solution here. How could you possibly come up to any other conclusion based on the information that we've presented to you there? I mean, there's huge anomalies in the information that's behind the survey as well. I think they've clearly got some sort of marketing consultancy firm to do that. I think they claim there were only 3 professional sides in South Africa.
Yes, we spoke about that.
Unbelievable.
And 14 in France, ignoring all of the Pro D2 stuff. My favourite is there is a graph that sort of shows the expectation gap between sort of where how Wales are going to improve, and there seems to be, for some unknown reason, in 2029, our entire peer group competition falls off a cliff. And I can't really see what that's based upon.
It's unbelievable. It should have been embarrassed to publish that. I mean, and again, I bet that's cost money.
Yeah. What I would say is, I know that who runs Gwlad, which used to be one of the chat forums in the days of thread-based forums, is running or has put together a sort of similar survey. I say a similar survey covering the same sort of issues, but framed in a far more neutral way. That I know he's pushing very hard on X. I think that's had well over 1,000 responses so far. So I think there's something that we will probably push out through the supporters club to fans as well. Is yes, there is this official WRU survey, and you should complete that. But also there is another survey that we are looking to collate a whole set of far more nuanced answers, and that, I believe, will be presented to the WRU sort of as another data set based on those premises.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Can I ask you a nice question, Ryan? Because the argument in Welsh rugby is, look, we don't want to lose the team, but we cannot sustain and fund 4 professional clubs competitively. Do you agree over that or not?
So it kind of touches on what I said before. I think the financial situation at the moment does mean it's incredibly challenging to support 4 professional sides to the same way that it is currently. That isn't to say that always needs to be the case. Like I said, if different decisions are taken at the union level, those finances look very, very different. Now, I appreciate some of that as a longer term solution than the position that we are in here. However, both the RPA that we signed and what looks like the optimal solution from the WRU require significant private investment from the owners, from the benefactors. And let's be clear, our ownership team have already signed up legally to that by signing the RPA, and they are willing to put that private investment on the table in writing right now. So I think there are ways to leverage that private sector investment into the game as well. None of this is to say that this is all rosy and we should all just keep our heads down and carry on. I think there are lots of significant improvements that can be made. I said not just on the women's side of things, but how we actually align some of the backroom services. They've talked about this before, just simple things like procurement across the regions, things like that. Where I think it goes too far in some of these proposals is this sort of national campus where you've got sort of squad A and squad B sort of training at the same environment every day. That sort of familiarity. It's not even familiarity breeds contempt. I think familiarity breeds complacency in that forum.
I'd hate that as a player. Would you? It'd be awfully boring when they're sharing the same facility, seeing the same people every day. I wouldn't like that.
It's really hard to build the rivalries. I don't know when you are effectively sort of 2 subsidiaries of your main employer. Just
exactly. Yeah, no, that's a really good point. So there's been talk about 2+2, 3+1. How would you feel, Ryan, as a supporter of the Dragons, if they were going to be a development region? Now, we know the devil is in the detail, but there has been talk about this. As you know, it's been talked about for years, isn't it, about Dragons being downgraded to a development region. What that exactly entails, we don't know. But how would you feel about that?
It's not something I would welcome. It depends on what the alternatives are, doesn't it? If
closure.
If we do end up in if we do end up in a scenario where it is that or nothing, then I think you make the best fist of it you can. You go, right, you can only be development insofar as the level of central funding that you get is lower. If you don't have centrally owned teams, the union can't dictate where players play as such. So you'd have to make the best fist of it as we could. Whether the private investment remains if we're not sort of getting the same level of central funding, because how do you actually perform at the same sort of level without that support is another question. So if there were no other option, but it's far from an ideal scenario, and I think it'd be very, very difficult to convince people that that's something to get behind.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Because Gareth, we've talked about it on the pod, haven't we? It takes away the hope, doesn't it? At the moment we've got hope. We got hope for the season that we can be competitive, and maybe one day we can make the playoffs. But when you're a development team, you just haven't got that hope, have you? You're just there to develop players, and pretty much that's it.
Exactly. You think if we became underfunded, well, results wouldn't change because we don't win.
Well, we've been underfunded for years, mind.
But yeah,
that's the
exactly.
Argument, isn't it?
But it is the hope, and I just think. I just hate the term development region because, not to bang on the drum of last time, but if you wanted a development region, I feel like they should be well funded, have the top class coaching, great facilities, and have the pool of youngsters coming through, but have a good amount of money to really provide fantastic facilities to really develop them into top class players. It's not that. It's just a budget region. It's just a team receiving poor funding just to be left to one side and not cared about. And it's a hard sell. I mean, sort of on the same page with Ryan, you'd prefer that to nothing, but are the crowds going to remain if we're a development team? I just think, it takes the hope away, and that's what I'm here for, is the hope.
And I suppose on the one hand, it's a sort of easy get out of jail clause card for the get out of jail free card for the union, in the sense you go, right, we've listened, so we've gone for this sort of split model, and then you just let market forces take care of it, and you end up with what you wanted all along, but you didn't have to do the dirty work.
I'd even prefer a 1+3 model, so one super funded region and then the three of us on equal footing, so at least you're not so alone. But if
that's a good shout. I'd be happy for Dragons to be the super region. That's absolutely fine. That's a good call, that is, Gareth. I agree with that.
Gareth's point, though, about if you're a development region, it being a proper development region, that would actually work. The idea that we're going to put young players there, but they're going to get the best coaching and they're going to get blooded. But in reality, what the actual model they're talking about is like being bottom set in maths. It's that. You barely get taught anything, and you're watching videos of cricket from the 80s. Or I'm just talking about my own experience in maths. But and development regions don't really exist. And when they talked about Connacht doing it,
they had a big uplift in funding. They did. Pat Lam didn't exactly win the title, the Pro 12 title, on a shoestring budget. He had a significant uplift. But next time, Miliana, for God's sake. Do you know what I mean?
But they weren't. That was after they'd stopped being a development thing. There was just they weren't on the. They had proper funding. Yeah. So people say, "Well, Connacht did well as development region." No, they didn't. They did well when they had proper funding.
Yes. Yeah, that's true.
And again, if you were a development team, not to go on and on, but you would want a top class overseas players in with those youngsters to bring them on. So you need the funding. It's just, it's not a development team. It's just poorly funded.
Yeah, bottom set of maths.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll talk about that on future episodes. I think it's the end of October, isn't it? We're due to get a resolution from it.
Supposedly. So I think the consultation process closes at the end of this month, and then. Although interestingly, Redding he was quoted in the Wales Online today, whether they are starting to move slightly from the optimal solution. I mean, which wouldn't be surprising in the sense that I think you put up your absolute worst case scenario, don't you, to get people really, really angry at that, and then people gratefully accept whatever you get chucked as the potential compromise off it.
That sounds very cynical, but you're probably right. You are probably right.
I think they find it very hard to hold the line if they get to the end of it and go, no, we've had multitude of thousands of responses that all say this is rubbish, but we decided we were right all along. So move on. I think even they would struggle to hold that line. So I think they've had to give themselves an off ramp that they've, if not always known about, that there's always been an option to be able to demonstrate that they're meaningfully engaged and listened and
you were under promise to over deliver, as they say, isn't it? Yeah, that's
absolutely. I thought the Players Association put out a statement saying they were against the WRU's proposal was quite big. Actually, the players don't want it, it seems, and that's something they will have to take on board, isn't it? So
they will. Yeah, I mean, they're absolutely right. And from as I understand it, there's been sort of very good reports of how well the players came across in that. I think it was Ross and O'Brien from us that were at that meeting. The risk is you can always try and spin it as well. No union is ever going to endorse job losses in any event, are they? So
no.
Some of this, I'm not saying this is the case, but you could easily, if you could badge it as just a self-preservation technique, which you could probably badge almost everybody's response as.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Okay, let's move on to pre-season stuff then. Leave the politics behind for a little while.
That'd be nice.
It would be nice, wouldn't it? So pre-season, a pretty successful pre-season, has to be said. In the first pre-season game, academy winger Rhys Cole grabbed a try brace as Dragons opened their campaign with a convincing 7-try, 45-12 victory over Hartbury. Ryan, you was there. What were your takeaways from that game?
I was there. I didn't get to go on the supporters bus this time, sadly, which is always good fun. I was on my way to somewhere else, so I just stopped off on the way. I thought we looked really solid. I mean, let's bear in mind this is a team that we lost to last year at home in pre-season. Now I know there are obviously significant shifts in. It's very difficult to sort of necessarily read across from year to year in pre-season games, but Hartbury are a really decent side, really sort of solid mid-table championship side that I said have turned us over before. I thought we looked excellent in the first half, as with all of these games. And I think probably yesterday, looked fairly similar. When you have this number of substitutes and you're trying to blood this many players, you inevitably start to fall off in the second half. Some of those connections start to go. But yeah, I thought Di Richards looked excellent again. Darren Hartbury, I think when he broke through and played a few games for us, I think it was 2 seasons ago, he looked excellent at that point in time, and clearly hasn't had as many opportunities since then. But I thought he looked excellent. I thought Nyowen was really, really good as well. And he's going to have to carry a lot this season, both physically on the pitch and also as a captain.
He always does. I feel sorry for him. I really do. He carries it every season, doesn't he?
But I thought he was really, really good, and I was also really pleased to see Harry Ackerman back as well, because I got an enormous amount of time for Ackerman. I was there at the Arms Park when he broke his leg playing for the under-20s a few years ago, and it was awful. I'm surprised he came back so quickly from that, but he was at that point in time he was incredibly broken through. He was playing incredibly well for us, and again, an injury that's really knocked him back by well over a year. So I was really, really happy to see him back in the park as well.
Good stuff. The only negative from that game was Thomas Young. He limped off after just 10 minutes coming off the bench. He's got a hamstring injury. We don't know how serious that is. The Dragons haven't confirmed that yet. It's a bit of a worry, isn't it? It'd be quite disappointing if he was missing the first. I suppose it depends what grade the tear is, but
I feel like if it was a week, they'd have told us it was a week. So I'm a bit worried.
Yeah,
it is worse.
Yeah, I mean, and he's not a. I said, in the relative scheme of things, he's not a young man anymore.
No, that's it.
But that was a shame. I mean, despite the fact, I think back row as a whole looks pretty good and has done for a period of time. Tom Young adds something different, I think, to the vast majority of back rows we've got at the moment. So, if that is any length of time, I think that will be a real shame.
Yeah, absolutely. Fingers crossed. Right, let's focus on Saturday then. So, Dragons beating Scarlets 33-28 to Ronnie Parade. A hat-trick from Joe Westwood and tries from Angus O'Brien and Harry Beddle helped seal the win over our West Walian rivals. Gareth, you was there for 40 minutes before the kids played up. Do you want to tell us your takeaways from the first half? I mean, to be fair, the first half was the best, really. In fairness,
don't take 2 4-year-olds to a game at Ronnie Parade. No, they enjoyed it, to be fair. But we have a scrum. I mean, yes, it's pre-season. Yes, it's the Scarlets. Like, whatever. I've seen us play poor teams in pre-season before, or other poor scrummaging sides, and we've still not had a scrum. our scrum was absolutely dominant first half. We were winning scrum penalties. They also, from my understanding, they didn't look dubious. We were getting the nudge on. We looked absolutely dominant. And I think that front row really laid down a big marker. Like the quality of Wyn Jones, Elliot D, and Rob Hunt, fair play to him, looked really good. They also, those three again, they seemed really physical in contact. So I think Wyn Jones, like he's hitting it on the line, but he's just getting that yard. Same with Rob Hunt. And I also noticed a few times in attack, we seemed a little bit quicker to attack in rucks, which is pretty important. I think at ruck time, we talk about defensive rucks and winning turnovers. Well, we conceded a lot of turnovers last year. We couldn't hold on to the ball. And we looked a bit sharper getting to the rucks and physical then in contact. So I was really pleased. And it just lays a really good foundation then for the team to play off. And I think Big Mac at 8, he had a really, really big game. Some of his carry in first half was enormous. Like he's a big boy and he was carrying really hard. So pleased that's another great option. I mean, Aaron Wainwright is unmovable at 8 for me, but great to have an option like Mac to mix it up in the back row as well. So yeah, really good.
Can I ask a question, Gareth? Robert Hunt, I've seen videos of him scrummaging, and he said he scrummaged well. Did he get round the park? Is he not mobile, but can he get around the park enough to offer an option?
So genuinely, I was purposefully keeping an eye out for this because it was probably a bit of a concern that I thought he could scrummage, but yeah, why hasn't he been top level in South Africa? But he did. He was one of the ones again quick to that breakdown. When he did carry, look, there was nothing dynamic about his carries, but it was hitting it into contact, but not getting knocked back. He was going forward, and we were getting quick ball, which I think that's all you want from your props. Wyn Jones the same. He hits the line hard. They're 2 big lumps, and they were getting over the gain line. And then Elliot D actually showing that he's a really good rugby player with good hands, spraying out some passes as well. So very, very pleased with the front row.
Yeah, that could be the starting front row for Ulster. They were that good. Wyn Jones, Elliot D and Rob Hunt. I think they put forward a very strong case. Honestly,
the difference in your team winning scrum penalties, suddenly you're like, we're 80 metres further at the field. You've had a scrum, you've won a scrum penalty, you've kicked it, you've won a maul penalty, you've kicked it again. And it's just normally we're seeing that against us so often. We think, how did we concede? We had a scrum down on their line. And you think, oh yeah, we lost that. They kicked a halfway, mauled, pen to the corner, and they've scored. But we seem to have that power. And yes, like, look, it's pre-season. I don't want to get too carried away, but it's not often you see a team win at Rodney.
You are getting carried away, Gareth. I know what you're like. You always, even any win, whether it's pre-season or normal season, you always get carried away. You can't help yourself, can you?
You got to. I live for these days. You know, we go to so many games and see us lose. When we win, I'm going to enjoy it. But yeah, I thought the scrum went really well, and in all honesty, probably with, you know, the locks behind them, the weight wise, we've probably got 3 or 4 locks ahead of them. I'm not sure where Screech is going to get in the mix, to be honest, but you know, they're going to get even more weight behind them. So yeah,
who started
really pleased.
In the second row with Barney Langton, Cryer, and
Matthew Screech.
And yeah. Screech, yeah.
Yeah, but you think, you know, you've got Ben Carter nailed on, best lock at the club. Seb Davis.
Hasn't played any pre-season though, Seb, has he?
That's a bit worrying. No news coming out of the club on that one. And then Screech Cummins and Levi Douglas fighting it out, which I missed the second half, but you mentioned he had a good second half, Jamie? Levi?
Yeah, I'll talk about it now. So these were my notes from the game on Saturday. So set piece was excellent, as you mentioned. Robert Hunt can scrummage. He took the Scarlets, Lou said, Alec Hepburn to the cleaners at scrum time. And it was very satisfying to watch, I'm not going to lie. We smashed the Scarlets up front and we did a job on their line out. I was sceptical about the second row pairing of Barney Langton Cryer and Matthew Screech, but in fairness, they did both play well and they did a job on the Scarlets line out. Big Mac, Mackenzie Martin and Levi Douglas are very big men. They are big men that can get you over the gain line. And from what I've seen so far, I have been very impressed with Mackenzie Martin. And look, I don't know what went wrong for him at Cardiff, and I don't particularly care. But if he carries on playing like he is, right? If he takes his pre-season form into the regular season, I think we got a gem on our hands. And I think the supporters, even though he's a Cardiff boy through and through, they're going to warm to him very quickly on the terrace. He was very, very good, carried hard. Levi Douglas as well, come off the bench, made a big impact. Really like the look of him. Tinas de Beer, Gav, I know you're sceptical about him. He had a good game. He had a really good game. He looked assured. Okay, he did miss a couple of conversions, but to be fair, they were at a tight angle. His kicking game was on point, and he knows how to spot a gap. He's a really slippery customer to be. He knows how to get through little gaps, and he made a few line breaks, Gav, didn't he, in our first half?
Yeah,
he's quite an oily, slippery customer. He's hard to get down as well.
Watching him as well, he could think in the moment and pick the right option. Where we've had outside halves before, maybe due to inexperience, often maybe being on the back foot didn't help. But they've got the option planned in their mind, and they're giving that pass whether it's on or not, and players are getting clobbered. He was thinking at the line, took a nice few options. There was a nice little cross kick to Rio Dyer, nearly come off. Yeah, he looked dangerous, and he puts it about as well. He's putting the hits in, and we were more physical than the Scarlets. We looked like we've stepped up, more physical than I've seen us a lot of last season. We did look a big, strong side that were out there to hit people, and then we obviously, being the Dragons, gave away a few soft tries as well. But it is pre-season.
No, like I said, we smashed them up front, and I thought we overpowered them all game, to be honest. And that was really pleasing to see, because that's something we don't normally see from a Dragons team, isn't it? When was the last time you see us overpower a side? It just doesn't happen very often. Right, Gavin, Solomon Funaki, he exists.
Apparently.
We seen him. He came onto the field. He came off the bench for 22 minutes. He was all right, in fairness. What I did notice, though, there was a lot of strapping on his left leg. And he still doesn't look 100% fit to me. But I think it's going to take a little while for him to get up to speed, because he's come off a horrific knee injury, isn't he? So I think we got to be a little... I know it sounds silly to say we got to be patient, because he's been out all season. But I do think supporters are going to have to give him a little bit more, time to bed in and get some more game time. So we talk about Super Rugby Camry allocation. I will not be surprised if Philo does what he did last season, and he puts Funaki in Super Rugby Camry just for a couple of games to get him up to speed. He did that, didn't he? Because he played for Pontypool and he scored, and then he played for Newport, and then that's when he got injured. But so he does exist. He is real. We've seen him. He's played. He's finally made a Dragons appearance, but he doesn't quite look 100% fit, and there was a worryingly amount of strapping on his leg. Joe Westwood took his tries really well. He's bulked up a bit, I thought. Shea Hope has definitely bulked up. You noticed that as well, Gaff, didn't you?
Yeah, winding up like Sam Lousy all game, which was good fun. Lousy was giving away a few daft pens trying to clobber him.
Yeah, typical Lousy. Yes, Harry Beddle is small, but he's very good, and he has a lot of potential. I thought he played quite well, in fairness.
Yeah, like the look of him.
I'm hoping the Dragons put out a proper highlights video so we can see that world-class match-saving cover tackle that Aaron Wainwright put on Archie Hughes. That was one of the best cover tackles I've ever seen. It basically saved us the game, because Archie Hughes, for all the world, was going to score that try. And if Wainwright doesn't make that tackle, the Scarlets would have won. Undeservedly so, in my opinion, but they very, very nearly snuck a win at the end. It was outstanding. So hoping we are going to see a clip of that. And look, as you would expect in a pre-season friendly, when mass changes are made, the second half was scrappy, it was disjointed, it was full of errors from both teams, but we won. And yes, unfortunately, the Scarlets tries were soft. I wrote that down in my notes, soft Scarlets tries. So Scarlets were clinical when they had the opportunities, but in fairness, we did gift them those opportunities. And if I was Dale McLeod, I wouldn't be too happy about that. So I think there's some work to be done there. But look, as I said, we won. It's positive, unbeaten pre-season. Lots of positives, but also plenty of work on ahead of Ulster, I think. But those are my takeaways. Anyone got any more to say about pre-season in general, or?
Can I just ask a question? Dylan Lewis came on.
He did.
How did he look?
Fine. So the scrum was dominant all game.
Okay.
It didn't take a backward step.
Okay.
We changed the front row, well, the front five as well. There were so many changes. It was hard to keep up, really. But that's the problem. You become disjointed. And what happened was we was making errors. So the one thing I would say, we were making what I call Dragonsy errors towards the end of the game. So we've all seen it. The Dragons are a team that are not very good at wrestling back momentum when it's against them. So in the last 15 minutes, Scarlets were throwing caution to the wind and they were going for it. And what we were doing then was making dumb errors. doubling down on it, poor discipline. So the last 15 minutes, we were sort of seeing the same old Dragons. So we know it's like when we're under the cosh, we do crumble a little bit. But in fairness, we did, we held out at the end and we got the win. But there were some Dragonsy moments towards the end. But to be fair, the scrum was rock solid all game. We really did a number on the Scarlets up front. I will say that. It was really good to see Coleman come on. He was fine, but I was just really impressed with Robert Hunt. And look, it's early days. We'll have to see how he gets on against, your Leinsters, your Glasgows, your South African teams. But I think he could be for us what Tom Beaufort was for the Ospreys. I think we've picked up a gem there. We just need them to stay fit, don't we? We need these guys to stay fit, because that's something we just don't have. We never have any luck from the injury gods. But I like the look of him. And it's a big year, and we'll talk about later, but I think it's a big year for Chris Coleman as well. Now he's got his first Wales Cup. We really need to see him kick on. And there's some good competition at tight head, with everyone fit, of course, which we'll talk about in a bit. But unbeaten pre-season. I mean, let's be honest, pre-season results aren't really relevant. I mean, Dragons have had unbeaten pre-seasons before. In fact, the first season, Gavin, when we did this podcast, we had an unbeaten pre-season, didn't we? We beat Ospreys and Scarlets, and that turned out well, didn't it, in the season?
Well, we went into it with a degree of hope.
Yeah, and as always, it's the hope that kills you.
Absolutely.
So, Ryan, any other thoughts on pre-season before we move on?
No, not particularly. I mean, there's a week off now, isn't there, before the Ulster game? So it's always a toss-up, I think, because I think traditionally we've often had pre-season games up until literally the week before the first game of the season, and we've run straight into it. It looks like all of the sides are taking a weekend's break between the final pre-season and the start of the season. So I don't know. On the one hand, you kind of want to get into it now, don't you? You're trying to keep appreciating it's only pre-season momentum, but we've got a little bit behind us now. But yes, as always, the proof will be when we run out the King's Span in a fortnight's time.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Okay. That's that then. Just a quick message before we move on. If you like what we do, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. A 5-star review will get you a mention on the pod. And if you prefer to watch us on YouTube, then don't forget to subscribe to the Wrap YouTube channel. I think we're very close to 2,000 subscribers. That'd be great if we can get to 2K. Right then, let's have a look at the squad depth. Chaps, can you see on your screens the squad depth chart?
Yep.
Can indeed.
Excellent. So if you're watching on YouTube, you'll see that we've got this lovely squad depth chart. Don't worry if you're listening on audio, we'll run through it. A big thank you to Greg Carter, one of our listeners, for putting this together. I just haven't got the patience, time to be doing stuff like this. I know Greg has got plenty of time in his hands, but some of us haven't. But we really do appreciate it.
Doesn't do any work, does he? That's the thing. So
no, I do appreciate Greg doing this. Thank you, Greg. It's really, really handy. So let's look at the squad then. Let's start with each position. Loosehead. This is in no particular order, by the way. This is not in ranking order or anything. So
it's not a depth chart in that sense. It's not like they do in the NFL. Because I thought he done it like that, kind of NFL style.
No, we're not doing it like who's starting in order. Okay. We got a list of players in each position, just to give you an overview, really, of the depth we got in each position. So let's start at Loosehead then. We got Wyn Jones, Rhodri Jones, Rodrigo Martinez, and then we got the youngsters Dylan Keller-Griffiths and Jordan Morris. That's pretty decent, isn't it? You got 3 experienced international tight heads there. Mm-hmm. Do we think that's pretty good depth in Loosehead?
It's better than it was. I don't know what I feel about Martinez. But I've always liked Wyn Jones. I liked him when he was at Scarlets. I liked him in the Wales team.
British Lion, of course.
Yeah.
Loads of experience. Yeah. What about you, Ryan? How do you feel about the Loosehead stock there?
Yeah, I mean, as you said, I think, obviously Wyn Jones, a very solid game. I got a lot of time for Dylan Keller-Griffiths as well. And I think being around sort of those other squad members will be really helpful to him. Again, some of this might have just been the fact that our scrum as a whole and our sort of pack play as a whole last season was on the back foot a lot. So I'm not sure whether Rhodri Jones or Martinez had much of an opportunity to show a huge amount in that sort of scenario last year. When you're under the cosh all the time, it becomes very challenging to put a case for yourselves forward. But in terms of the number of sort of recognised capable looseheads, I think that looks like a really good starting point.
Gareth?
Yeah, I think it's probably the strongest stock we've had in a while. I mean, Wyn Jones, like I mentioned scrum being better and getting to attacking rucks better, we've literally just signed a better player than what we've had. He is a level above the quality we've had before. I do like Rodri and Martinez, to be fair. And the two youngsters, I think that's exactly what it should be. We've mentioned it before. Have our youngsters, do they know what good looks like in training? Have they had that player there to pick little bits up from? You bring Wyn Jones in, they've got that quality to learn from, so it's only going to be good from them. So got high hopes of the two youngsters coming through them. Yeah, pretty happy with that stock, to be fair.
Okay, then we move on to tight head. So we got Dylan Lewis, Welsh International, Robert Hunt, Chris Coleman, Welsh International, absolutely super Chris Coleman, Luke Yendall, and Owain James. I think there's going to be a really interesting selection headache at tight head if Lewis, Hunt, and Coleman are all fit and available. Because somebody's going to miss out. Like Hunter's show, like I don't want to get too excited. It was only one game, but if he's a very capable scrummager, then that means either Dylan Lewis or Chris Coleman's missing out. So I think we've got a really interesting battle there at tight head, providing all three can stay fit. How do you feel about it, Gavin?
I'm of the view you should always start with your strongest scrummager, because you need to get on that front foot. You need that set piece ball. So if he's the strongest scrummager, he should start. Both Dylan Lewis and Chris Coleman, I'm now not going to pretend I haven't always been glowing about both of them on various pods I've been on. But, they're both solid enough, aren't they? And if we can establish dominance, I think they'll just come into a stronger pack. So, yeah, I think it's interesting. That's because that's three decent tight heads.
Yeah. How do you feel about it, Ryan? It looks pretty decent. Like I said, if all three tight heads stay fit, that's a good selection headache for Philo to have, isn't it?
It is, and it makes it a really big year for Coleman. Having just got your first Welsh cap, you are in that position. You want to be playing all the time. You want to be sort of pushing your case. Now, I appreciate, obviously, it was a summer touring squad in the Lions year. Not that had a huge impact on the players that were available for Wales. But you having just won your Welsh cap, you are going to want the first half of that next season to be an opportunity for you to get in and continue to build your case. And I think having sort of signings of both Hunt and Lewis coming in there, I think that puts quite a bit of pressure on Coleman. And pressure isn't a bad thing. But I think there's going to be a really big season for Coleman to try and stake his claim, given the summer and given those signings.
No, you're absolutely right. I have felt a bit sorry for Chris Coleman because he's had to shoulder a lot of responsibility at tight there due to injuries. He's had to play a lot of games, hasn't he? Consecutive games. And he hasn't had really anyone challenging him. Luke Yendall I really like, but he gets injured a lot. He's not really kicking on as much as I would like. Owain James is obviously still a pup learning his trade. But I think it's going to be a very interesting selection battle at tight head. You think the same as well, Gav? Don't know. You think it could be quite interesting?
Yeah, I think I'm pleased with the Dylan Lewis signing as well. I think
I am too.
If someone like that coming off the bench, I mean, hopefully he can merit a start as well. But his work at the breakdown as well. He's a capable scrummager at club level, 100%. But his work at the breakdown is important. We haven't actually had enough people who can win turnovers, I feel, and we've been up against it quite a bit, and we haven't been able to sort of stem that tide. So quite excited what he can do. He's worth signing just for the content anyway. Some of his online stuff's quite comical, to be fair to him. But I mean, we've signed two tight heads like last season. I know things couldn't be helped with Fairbrother and Brown both sort of knocking it on the head just before the season and not long into it. But that was too much on Chris and the youngsters below. So yeah, we needed to strengthen there, and I'm pretty happy, especially given our current position. The two players we've signed, I think, definitely add to the side.
Okay, moving on to hooker. Again, decent depth. Elliot D, Brodie Coughlin, friend of the pod, Jumbo, James Benjamin, Ollie Burrows, and Sam Scarf. Yeah, that's fine, isn't it? That's pretty good. I really like Ollie Burrows. I'm hoping he'll kick on because he had a shoulder injury, didn't he, last season, I think. So that put him out for a while. He's a big lump as well.
I was just going to say exactly the same thing. He's a big old lad, isn't he?
He is a big guy. I like the look of him a lot. Any thoughts on the hooker position? Any of you?
I've got a lot of time for Coughlin. I think he's a really, really positive player. I think what he brings that perhaps we don't get from the other hooks in that position is what Bradley used to bring as a hooker. He's very,
Dog.
very abrasive. He's a very good carrier of the ball. He's not huge, but he carries very, very well.
Yeah.
And I think he's very, very difficult to get a hold of. And I genuinely think it'll be a really interesting battle between him and D. As it was for quite a bit of last year.
No, quite right. He should have had a Wales cap by now, Brodie Coughlin. I think it's been very unlucky.
Yeah,
Belt again selected over him. You're like, what the hell?
Dear me. But yeah, I could completely agree. I think those two, Elliot Dean and Brodie, two sort of contrasting styles.
Mm-hmm.
I think both are really, really strong hookers. And then for those other three, it's, getting that squad. If Elliot D's away with Wales, that's your chance. Benjamin, Bowes and Scarf should be fighting it out. And there's a lot of they should, be really pushing each other. Do you want to get your chance? So I think that third spot is really open between the three of those. Any of those could get it. So it's good. Yeah, but I think Elliot D and Brodie are sort of a level above at the minute.
Yeah, fair enough. I quite like the look of Sam Scarf as well, and I think it's important he gets a lot of games for Pontypool. He seems quite abrasive as well. Do you remember when he made his Dragons debut up in Glasgow and he had to play in the back row? We had so many injuries. He ended up, poor lad, had to play in the back row. But I think it's decent depth there at hooker. Moving on to lock then, I think this is the strongest the lock department has looked for a little while. Again, providing everyone is fit. So Ben Carter, Seb Davis, Levi Douglas, who I'm very impressed with, Steve Cummins, who I'm not so impressed with, Matthew Screech, Barney Langton-Cryer, and Nick Thomas, who I'm a big fan of. I think he's got a lot of potential. Ryan, how do we feel about the lock position? Because when I look at that, I think that's pretty good depth, and it seems quite stronger than we've had for a long time, I think.
Yes, I mean, I think Carter's nailed on starter, isn't he? Really?
Yeah.
I genuinely think it's not a toss-up. I genuinely think that second lock slot is wide open, though. I think you look at, like, on paper, Seb Davis, I think you would start, but I haven't seen a huge amount of him, certainly over the last season or so. Douglas, I mean, I said I didn't see the game yesterday, but when I spoke to Dan this morning, he said he was incredibly impressed by Levi Douglas.
Yeah.
He's sort of flown under the radar a bit, hasn't he, compared to some of the other signings in that space. So, yeah, I genuinely think there's a real fight for the second spot.
And that's exactly what we want. When there's competition, it drives performance, doesn't it? So whoever gets that spot alongside Ben should have really earned it, instead of just, oh, you're tall and you own boots. Like,
who could you possibly be talking about?
We have struggled there. So yeah, I'm happy with that. But yeah, Ben head and shoulders above, one of the most underrated player in Wales outside of the Dragons, I feel. But yeah, definitely open. Agree with Ryan there.
Yeah.
What I would say about Levi Douglas, he is a good player by the looks of it, but he's the kind of player you probably wouldn't start.
No, you want him coming off the bench making an impact. Yeah, completely agree.
Against tired defence, a bloke of that size moving a pace, it's going to be hard work.
Yeah,
completely agree.
It gives us options, like, because the back row is going to be hotly contested, but depending on your balance there, do you start with a Levi Douglas if you're going to be bringing big ball carrier off the bench in the back row, and then maybe swapping someone more athletic than Levi in the second row? It gives you that options, which is not a place we've been in before.
Second row requires something else at scrummaging time, though, and it is, back rowers. I say this as a second row, but kind of back rowers have less to do at scrummage time and I wouldn't just I'd like him to come on and really just focus on running against tired legs. Levi Douglas.
Yeah, absolutely. We have been crying out for a big, gnarly bastard lock, haven't we, for a long time? And Levi Douglas is that guy. Honestly, him coming off the bench in the last 15, 20 minutes, mind, like Gavin said, he is a big man. And he was punching holes in the Scar's defence. I was very, very impressed with him. So let's put ourselves in Philo's shoes. You've got to pick a starting front five for Ulster, right? So who would be your loose head, your tight head, hooker, and your lock? Let's start with you then, Ryan. Who would be your starting front five for Ulster?
I'd go Wyn Jones, Rob Hunt, Brodie Coughlin, Ben Carter, and probably Levi Douglas.
Okay, Gavin?
Wyn Jones, Rob Hunt, Elliot D, Ben Carter, assuming he's fit, Seb Davis.
What about you, Gareth?
Wyn Jones, Hunt, D, Carter. Second row is the hardest. We haven't seen Seb Davis, have we? And
that's the problem. Yeah,
at the minute, the way the preseason's gone, I think I'd have to go Screech because he's had the minutes in his legs.
Yeah, I'd probably go Wyn Jones, Rob Hunt, and then hooker got to be Elliot D, isn't it? And then for lock, definitely Ben Carter. If Seb's not available, if he was available, I go Davis and Carter. That would be my second row pairing. If he's not available, the thing is, I want Douglas coming off the bench, punching holes in the last. Because honestly, I think he could be that impact sub that we need. I'd probably go Screech or Cummins. I think Cummins got a lot to prove. We'll talk about this in a bit, but some players in this squad have got a lot to prove, and I think Cummins is one of those. I was excited when we signed him. I thought he was a really good addition, but through injuries, and when I have seen him play, he just hasn't really been as good as what I'd hoped. But that would probably be my starting front five. Back row then. For all of the Dragon struggles, the back row is always an area where we're very, very strong in, isn't it? We never ever look weak in the back row. So the options are Aaron Wainwright, Harry Keddy, Shane Lewis-Hughes, who's been excellent since his move from Cardiff, I think. Thomas Young, Ryan Woodman, Mackenzie Martin, Solomon Funaki, he does exist, Harry Beddle, Evan Minto, and I'm a big fan of Owen Conker as well, so he's in there. I mean, Ryan, it speaks for itself, doesn't it? The back row is it's an embarrassment of riches, really, isn't it?
It is, but I think if we can get a really solid front five, then it gives you the luxury of being able to select a back row that doesn't have to necessarily be huge. So you take players like Ryan Woodman, for example. When we're struggling in the scrum, albeit as Gavin said, obviously the back row don't add as much as the second row, but you don't have as many choices to make because you've got to try and bolster your scrum as much as you can. If you've got a really strong front five, you can take those risks in inverted commas and pick someone like Woodman, who's not the biggest of scrummager, but gives us something very, very different. I think it's a fantastic ball carrier. He's incredibly quick around the park. He's incredibly good over the contact area. So yeah, I think we've always had nominal choices given the number of names on the team sheet. I think we have genuine choices if we can get parity and beyond up front.
Very good point. Gareth, back row?
Yeah, really happy with that. Happy that we signed, obviously, Thomas Young and Beddle, like two out-and-out open sides. Look, I did really like Basham.
Who?
But yeah, I hate him.
Never heard of him, mate. Never heard of him.
Despise him now.
Never
was he an out-and-out seven? No, not a traditional seven anyway. So I think our back row actually has more balance now. Shane Lewis is fantastic last season. Ryan Woodman, like Ryan said, is a great option. And Big Mac has certainly given us an option. And the youngsters coming through as well. As always, really happy with the back row.
I'm quite excited about Evan Minto as well. I think he's been really good for Pontypool and Wales under 20s. And I said Owen Conker, I think, has got a big future ahead of him. Yeah, back row, we never have to worry, do we? It's always going to be a strong area for us. Let's move on to scrum half then. Rodri, of course. Niall Armstrong, so he's come over from Exeter Chiefs, the Irish scrum half. Shea Hope, who I thought was very good against the Scarlets starting. Morgan Lloyd, who I'm a big fan of. And then you got Logan Franklin, the Wales under 20 scrum half, who's going to be playing for Newport. It's a tricky one, this, because I wasn't very impressed with Niall Armstrong when he came off the bench against Scarlets. I don't know how he went against Hartpury. He did play against Hartpury, didn't he, Ryan? Niall Armstrong. I'm pretty sure he came off the
rack my brains on this. I think we had about 32 players. I'm sure he was probably one of them.
I'm sure Morgan Lloyd started, and I think Niall Armstrong came off the bench. But I might have to double check that. It's up for grabs, I think, who backs up Rodri. But yeah, I was very impressed with Shea Hope. How do we feel about the scrum half situation then? Gareth, do you want to kick us off for that?
Probably optimistic that Rodri's great. Rodri's a really solid player. Happy with him. Beyond that, I've got a lot of hope about Shea Hope and Morgan Lloyd and Logan Franklin, but a bit soon at the minute. Neil Armstrong, I don't know a lot about him in all honesty.
Niall Armstrong.
Neil Armstrong, you went to the moon, mate.
Sorry, yeah, Niall. It is open, but it is a little bit of a concern. Rodri could be away from Wales, or if he gets a knock, one of those players really, well, two of those players will need to step up, but one of them really needs to take their chance and nail themselves down to challenge Rodri. I'm not sure who it's going to be. I think I've really liked the look of Morgan Lloyd before. His show and go is fantastic. I think it was pre-season last season. He must have done about 8 show and goes in the game against Hartpury when we lost at home. He really does like that. And obviously his try down Cardiff last year was great. Shea Hope, a really different sort of player, can sort of pick up the ball and move across the field with it. He's one of those players that you need good players around him, but hitting angles off him, knowing how he plays, I think. But yeah, it could be a bit of a concern if something happens to Rodri, to be honest. But we can be optimistic and hope one of these youngsters kick on.
Gavin, your thoughts on the scrum?
Yeah, I think quite a lot has been said. I think really that Rodri's the clear standout player there, and Welsh international. Niall Armstrong looks like what is he's an experienced backup. I would really like to see both Shea Hope and Morgan Lloyd getting a bit of time, because I think they both offer something slightly different as well at scrum half. And Morgan Lloyd's a bit more, as Gareth said, he's a bit more tricky, a bit more of a deceptive runner, where Shea Hope is a bit more from the Mike Phillips school of scrum half. So yeah, I don't think we go, wow, that's brilliant, but it is a decent place to be in, I'd say.
Let's move on to fly off then. So this is the one area where you start to think, oh, not sure about this, and a lot of supporters have said they're a bit concerned about the fly off position. So new signing to Tabia. We put Kai Evans in this position because Philo did say that he can cover fullback and 10. Jack Lloyd has looked lively in pre-season, and we got young Harry Ford, and obviously Angus O'Brien as well. You can put in that fly-off bracket. This is the department where I'm thinking, if something happens to Tinas, then we're sort of relying on young players, or we're relying on fullbacks who can play at 10 but are not really 10. You've got concerns about the fly-off position, Gavin, haven't you?
Yeah, and I've been quite, not cynical, but guarded in my view of Tinas Tabia.
No, Gav, you've been cynical.
Yeah,
you've been cynical.
Yeah, all right, I've been cynical. I did refer to him as Cardiff's third choice out half when he joined us. So yes, all right, cynical. And then you look at that and you think, oh my God, if he gets injured. And Angus isn't the 10 for me. I like Angus as a player. He isn't the 10. Kai Evans, who I was very positive about. Now, I don't know, it's... So, and then, Jack Lloyd looked great in the SRC final against Ed Vale for Newport, but it's a very different kettle of fish, isn't it?
There was a bit of a drop-off when Tabia came off and Jack Lloyd went on.
I bet.
And his kicking wasn't quite as good. But he's a young kid and he's learning the ropes, isn't he? So, he needs time and he's development. But he was excellent for Newport in the Super Rugby Camry. He was a big part of their success.
Oh, yeah. That's the weak position, isn't it?
It's just that if it's a couple of injuries, you're relying on kids or players playing out position. That's the problem, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ryan, how do you feel about the fly-off position? Do you have concerns like a lot of supporters if we get a couple of injuries?
Yeah, I mean, I think it does look a bit thin on paper, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I like De Beer. I thought he looked excellent 2 seasons ago when he first signed for Cardiff. And so I'm not the selector there. I think he was a bit unlucky to get ousted for Sheedy for some of last season at Cardiff, to be honest. The risk is obviously he didn't get a lot of game time last year because of Sheedy. So I'm sort of judging him more on the previous year. But yeah, I mean, he's clearly sort of head and shoulders the starting 10. And again, without being there yesterday, I think he's got comparatively good reviews, getting towards the line, actually taking the ball, actually making defenses commit and make a decision before he goes on. If you look across the rest of the park, I mean, I said this when we signed Jack Lloyd last year. I don't think it's a huge step up on Will Reid, to be honest, and I would probably rather us have kept Reid in and of the mix in that space. I think he's got a lot of potential and a lot of space he can get into. But yeah, broadly, I think we're probably all on the same page here, aren't we? This is definitely where it starts to thin out a bit.
I agree. Yeah, Gareth, if you go along with that.
Yeah, as long as Tina Stabia never gets injured, we're all right. Sometimes it's good, an outside half can run the side when they know they're the nailed on one. But yeah, bit concerned if he gets injured. But
yeah, we need to be like he was in his first season for Cardiff, where he never got injured and he was just excellent, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Week in, week out, and everyone was saying, "Oh, he's this Moneyball signing." And then the second season they brought in Sheedy, and he never really got a sniff, and then he started getting injuries. But so far, I like the look of him. I do like him. He is small mind. He's smaller than I thought to be. I thought, but yeah, that is a slight concern, that position, isn't it? Right, moving on to centre then. We got an Ivan Owen, Joe Westwood, the new signing for Tuli Paella, Harry Ackerman, Di Richards, who myself and Ryan's a big fan of, and then Ollie Woodman in the centre. So I'm looking forward to seeing Owen and Paella play together. I think that could be a really good centre partnership. How do we feel about the centre depth as a whole then, Gareth?
Yeah, the pair you mentioned, I think, are nailed on as the first choice. I know Westwood scored his hat trick and did take his try as well, but I think defensively we've needed strengthening at 13, and that's what that signing does. We've not got the luxury to just have someone who's going to be a bit wild at 13. I think Fatuli's a solid outside centre, and we've missed that. It's a little bit light on the ground again. It's a lot of youngsters. But look, the Dragons in the position we were in had a lot of fires to put out, and we've all just said we're relatively happy with our pack and our depth there. And I think that is where I would want to put the fires out first. That's where they were burning brightest. So being a little bit lighter in the backs, there'd be no point in having world-class backs without a pack who can get them the ball. So, and there's players we can get really excited about. Like an Ivan Owen is a fantastic player. And Ryan mentioned earlier Harry Ackerman. I absolutely love Harry Ackerman. I think he's definitely got it in him to really step up. Just really needs now to stay fit and get good run of games, because he's got a lot of quality. He's got power. He's got offloading. I think he can be a really, really good 12 for us going forward. So, and let's see if Di Richards can put the pressure on as well and get in the mix, because before his injury, he certainly had a bit about him, and he looks like now he's a lot bigger, because he was a fullback wing coming through before. Now he's at 13, and he's definitely put on a bit of size, which is good.
Yeah, I'm glad to see Di Richards back playing rugby, actually, because he had a horrible injury, didn't he? And then he got released by yesterday. There was talk of him possibly retiring, but fair play to him. He come back for Newport, been playing centre for them, been superb. And I really like the look of Di Richards. It's just nice to see him back. Any thoughts on the centre, Gav? Your opinion?
Again, I think it's a bit patchy one to get past the obvious choices. It's Owen and Paella look like the obvious players there.
Yeah.
I like Harry Ackerman. I do like him, and he's a big lump and he's strong. Joe Westwood, I find lacks of pace. I would like to see at centre, particularly in defence. So there are some questions there for me at centre, but again, if we keep him fit, it's better than we had.
Yeah, Ryan, any quick thoughts on the centres?
I think if you pick Owen, who I think you have to, you need a bit of pace outside him, because for all of his strengths, he's not a super quick 12. And I think getting somebody outside him who can give that bit of balance is really, really helpful. I mean, I think Fatuli's out with Tonga, isn't he, at the moment? And I'm not sure.
Yeah, he's literally playing. He's playing Sunday night against Japan.
Yeah, okay. And I think the winger's out as well, isn't he?
He's back.
Okay. It's his family that's here, Gareth. He's still out there, I think.
No, I've seen him warming up.
You saw him warming up. All right.
Yeah.
He was in the you can't miss his sort of bleached mop. So yeah, he's back, strangely enough.
Okay, so he's clearly not in the squad now. But I think it means that you're probably looking to go Owen and Westwood to start with then for the Ulster game, aren't you?
Yeah.
And see how long it takes to bring him back in.
And with Westwood as well, I think he might lack a little bit of pace for 13, but he still is a young man as well. whether a shift slightly inside. I just think watching the preseason game, he took his tries really well. He's really big. He's strong. Just think there could be a little bit more talking from him coming from that 13 channel. It's a really important defensively position. Hopefully that's what comes with age. But yeah, it's something.
You learn that with experience, I think. In fairness to Westwood, I like him, and he is definitely. Well, he looks a lot bigger. I mean, he's a big lad anyway, but he has bulked up a bit. There are sort of criticisms about his lack of pace in his defence, but I think they work on, as far as I'm concerned. I think he's got a bright future. Right, let's move on to the back three then. Angus, Jared Rosser, Rio Dyer, Fine Nisi, Hugh Anderson, Ewan Rosser, and Harry Rees-Weldon. Quite strong in the back three. I would also put the winger who played, who scored 2 tries against Hartbury, whose name has now escaped me. I can't remember who he was. What's his name? Reece Cole. Reece Cole. So I probably put.
But no, not out on the wing.
My mind just went completely blank. Yeah, Reece Cole. He did play as well against the Scarlets. I thought it was quite interesting that we played Hugh Anderson on the wing against the Scarlets, and we had Angus at fullback and Rio on the other wing. I just wonder, is that what they're looking at going forward into the regular season? I don't know, but I found it quite interesting. Any thoughts on the back three? Seems okay, doesn't it? Seems pretty decent, I think.
The issue last season wasn't that the back three was poor. The issue was we didn't get the ball to them in the right places at the right time.
Yeah, I mean, I think Gavin's right earlier. I think having a solid starting 10 frees up Angus to play 15, which is definitely his best position.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, again, that's kind of nailed on. I mean, Rosser and Dyer are both known products, aren't they? You kind of know what you're getting there. I think they offer slightly different things in terms of how they play.
Yeah.
I think I do think it's a big year for Dyer, to be honest. He's sort of fallen off the Welsh radar a little bit in the last few months.
You're jumping ahead now. I got this question later.
Sorry.
Jumping ahead. Keep your powder dry for a minute.
I will. Fine.
It's fine. I just that was literally the next question I got. But right, any more comments on the back three or the squad in general? So I think we can all agree when we look at this on paper, this is a much better squad, and it actually looks like we got depth, doesn't it? For once, would you all agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, and one thing just to add, looking at Matt O'Brien's comments at the end of the game yesterday, and he said the group have gelled really well. They've all spent a lot of time together, and that's a bit of a change from last season. It sounds like we're a tighter group. I mean, I sent it to my old man, and he was like, what the fuck happens at the Dragons? Like, why do we always, after we've been shit, go, oh, yeah, so the team obviously, weren't happy. I mean, how could they have been, I guess, with those results? And we've had a big clear out. But, it sounds like we've got a tight unit. You see them on social media. I think there's a crop of youngsters there who seem to be getting quite tight. And it's definitely a better squad on paper. So pretty happy looking at that.
Yeah. Ryan, it's good depth overall then, you agree? You feel comfortable going into the season?
I think everybody who watched us last year, the issue was very, very clear, is that we were not winning the collisions. We were not getting any quick ball. We were always on the back foot. And it's very difficult, as Gavin said, to get the ball to your back three in decent positions if you are not able to I know it's a bit of a cliche, but win those collisions, which we definitely weren't. We've clearly gone out and recruited in those areas. Now, we haven't been able to plug all of the gaps, but clearly we've looked at strengthening the scrum. We've looked at getting big back row and second row ball carriers into that space. It'll be interesting to see how both the Tongans do, I said, to bring a little bit of pace out wide. But it's clearly recruitment that's been targeted. It does feel sometimes previously we've kind of gone, oh, who's available? Who can we get in? And who's willing to come? And
who's willing to come? Yes.
There's not always been a sort of coherent narrative in that space. It feels like the recruitment we've done this year, whilst it's not going to solve all of our problems, it does feel like it's been targeted at the problem areas or the most problematic areas. So I think it's a really clever bit of business.
Yeah, I agree. I've seen comments from some supporters who say, oh, it's a bit underwhelming, our recruitment. I completely disagree. I think given our reputation and where we are right now, I think we've done incredibly well to get the players we have done. And look, not all of them are going to be good because it doesn't work like our recruitment, does it? not everyone shines, unfortunately. We will get some really good players and some won't be so good. We've seen it with last year's recruitment. There's been some real duds. But on the whole, I'm encouraged. I am encouraged. I think this is one of our best squads, especially when you look at it on paper. I think this is one of the best squads we have ever had. But it's the hope that kills you, as we always say on this podcast. Right. So I got some burning questions coming up. We'll start with you, Ryan, because you pretty much answered it already. So I was going to, no, it's fine. You would to know. So my question to you guys is the first burning question. Who do you think needs a big season? Now, it can include coaches as well. If you think Philo Tia needs a big season, or, Matt O'Brien, the backs coach, there's been a lot of criticism aimed at him from supporters. That's fine. It doesn't have to be players. So, okay, Ryan, who do you think needs a big season?
Well, surprisingly, I said I genuinely think that Dyer needs a big season. I said he's sort of fallen off the Wales map a little bit in the sort of last season or so. And you look at some of the way he was attacking the ball, sort of maybe 2 seasons ago. He was always coming infield, always looking for that ball. That try that he scored against Munster, is just as an example of him getting himself in the right spaces.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think that it's, in inverted commas, his fault. Again, you look at how little ball we had and how little ball we had in attacking scenarios last year. You're asking one of your best attacking players to pretty much field high balls all game and try and be a last line of defence. So I think, again, and this all comes down to platform. If that sort of enhanced type 5 supported by that back row gives us that attacking ball, I think Rio's then got the opportunity to put himself back in that mix. And I said, I think if he's able to do that, then I think he's more than capable of doing it. But I think, albeit not necessarily his fault, I think he needs a really big season.
Fair enough. Do you think the attacking system that Matt O'Brien implements helps him, though?
I think it's very difficult to have any attacking system work at all when you were, as we were last year, because you don't train an attacking system losing 5 yards every carry. Nobody does that, and yet that ended up being the reality of almost every single game we were in. And you end up in positions where you have no opportunity but to kick because you've lost all the momentum. People are piling over the top. That said, when we do get front football, possibly not. But I think we found it very difficult to actually implement any attacking structure because the limited opportunities we did to have one, you've got nobody in position. Everybody's out of position. It's very, very difficult to set that going.
That's fair enough. Gavin, who do you think needs a big season?
Well, mine is kind of connected to that because I think Matt O'Brien has a big season ahead of him.
Yeah.
Because we've now got, hopefully, a scrum that will come provide first phase ball of quality. So I need to see coherent attacking structure because for the last 2 seasons, if you asked me to define what our attacking approach was, I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you at all. And I think we need to see it now. We need to see what we look like with the ball in hand.
Yeah, that's fair enough. This would be Matt's 3rd year now as attack coach. Bear in mind, the first 2 seasons, our attack has been ranked 16th in the URC. So hopefully we'll see an improvement. What about you then, Gareth? Who needs a big season?
Oh, it's hard because the front 5's so important. But I'm going to go for Thule. I think 13's been a problem position. We signed Wilson to solve it. Didn't happen. Westwood's still learning the trade and has got a lot of promise. But I think if he can really dominate that position defensively and offer us something offensively, getting over the gain line, giving us that platform, I think that could be absolutely huge for us. I really want him to have a big season. My other one I was toying with was actually Ben Carr, who I rate so highly. But if we're going to go and win games, go and be that dominating lock on the pitch. You'll have the front row in front of you now. No excuses. Let's dominate games and let's pick up some wins. And we're going to need him to really stand tall, which I'm really confident Ben could fulfill that as well. Sorry, I picked 2 then, didn't I?
No, it's fine. You could pick several. I mean, I could pick Steve Cummins. Because he just hasn't been as good as what I thought he'd be, and he's been injured. Obviously, Funaki would be a very easy choice, wouldn't it? I think we was all excited by the look of Funaki, and that just hasn't worked out. And you do feel he needs a big season, otherwise it's on your bike. But I think Chris Coleman for me. Now he's got his Wales cap. I really want to see him push on, and I think he's got an interesting battle ahead. And it'd be really nice now to see him properly kick on, and because he's got a bit of a reputation problem. When he was called up, there was a lot of people sort of snide about it, wasn't it? And look, he's not the strongest scrummager, but he works hard. The one thing you can say about Chris Coleman, he's a trier. He really is. So yeah, I love to see Chris though kick on, improve his scrummaging, and hopefully competition at tight end will bring out the best of him. But yeah, there's several players you could say.
Yeah, can I add one more as well to be really cheeky?
If you want to.
I think someone like Ewan Rosser, like Ryan, you mentioned us really struggling to implement any sort of attack. So like how can you shine in the back three? Ewan Rosser now is at that age where if you don't go and take your chances, you are going to get overtaken this season. And you will that will be it. So people like Harry Rees-Weldon breathing down your neck, Hugh Anderson's kicking on, Anisi's come in. So yeah, someone like Ewan Rosser, I think, has got all the skills. Just probably needs to play in an attack that's getting a bit more ball and with a bit more confidence. So yeah, I'd like to see when he gets his opportunities, him really take them this season, because he has to essentially.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. My second burning question is, which new signing, because there's been a few, which new signing are you most excited about for the new season? Gavin, let's start with you. Out of all the signings we've made, who are you most excited about?
Well, the one I'm most excited about, the man who's getting himself injured quite early on, really, is I was excited about the signing of Thomas Young because, unlike Gareth, I'm not a massive Tane Basham fanboy.
He's dead to us on this podcast. He's dead to us now.
And I wanted somebody that kind of Jacqueline 7, because I thought Shane Lewis-Hughes brought us what we needed, 6. Wayno gives us what we needed, 8. I wanted a proper 7. So he was the one I'm most excited about. But if he's injured, I'd like to see what Anisi does. I'd like to see a big, brawling, quick South Sea winger. So, yeah, I think they're my answers.
Okay, Gareth, who are you most excited about? Which new signing?
Wyn Jones, best prop we've had at the club. British Lion. Like, just go win me scrum pens, mate. Like,
he's played one game, Gareth.
Mate, he's class.
Gareth get ahead of himself. That's
how can you say he's the best prop we've had? He's played one game.
He is. No, on paper. He's, mate, hell of a game. Hell of a half. He's an aggressively scrummaging loose head. We haven't had that. Like, Rodri Jones is fantastic around the park. Martinez is a tidy player, but Wyn Jones, yeah, I'm really excited to watch us win scrum pens, and I'm going to absolutely love every single one of them.
So I think mine would be Mackenzie Martin. Like I said, I've been very impressed with pre-season. He's a lovely kid. You've met him as well, Gareth, haven't you? He is a really nice kid. He's got a smile on his face as well. It's been talked about quite a lot. Simon Thomas wrote a piece about how he's really enjoying his rugby now, being at the Dragons. Indeed. Like I said, I don't know what happened at Cardiff. He clearly hasn't been happy there, but he seems to be happy with us. And he's a big guy. He gets over the game line. I think he's going to be a really positive addition and useful addition. Now, I don't know if he's going to be a regular start. I mean, if Wainwright's there, he's probably going to be on the bench. But again, in the last 15, 20 minutes, who would you want coming off the bench? You would want a big guy running at tired defenders, the power, the physicality. Big Mac is the guy that I want coming off the bench.
I was going to ask you, is he actually making the 23 for you? Is he your bench option? But
I think he is. But on the like, obviously, if Aaron will be away,
of course,
so he's got his opportunity. But I really like the idea of Mackenzie Martin coming off the bench and just running at tired defenders, because he's an absolute man monster. He's huge, and
you can shift Wainwright as well.
Exactly, you can put him to 6 if he wanted to. He can play at 7 as well. He did start his career at 7 for the Dragons, but obviously you could shift and play around with the back row. But I think, like I said, I think he's a very talented player. Something went wrong at Cardiff. I know they had Tulupe Falatau there and Lawrence, but it's all a bit weird, really, what happened there. I think this is a really good opportunity for him now to kick on, and he just wants regular rugby. That's the impression I got when I've read his interviews. He just wants regular rugby, and yeah, I'm really excited for him. Mackenzie Mount will probably be mine. So Ryan, what about you then? What's your new sign are you most looking forward to seeing?
I'm really excited to see Seb Davis at his best.
That's a wild one. Something I wasn't expecting.
He has all of the minerals to be absolutely fantastic. He's still only 28. He's got bags and bags of experience. I appreciate he's not been at those heights for sometimes. When he came through and started playing for Wales, he was just absolutely everywhere on the park. He's an excellent maul operator. He's in that sort of Luke Charteris maul that we used to have all those years back. I appreciate it's a bit of a wild card. We haven't seen very much, if at all. Well, we haven't seen any of him in pre-season.
No.
And I accept there is a bit of a punt there, given his sort of form levels for the last couple of years. But I genuinely think if we can get him back to his best, I think there's a real opportunity there. I'm really excited to see him play.
Can I ask a question about him? I'm probably not as warm on Seb Davis as him, but I do think he's a decent player. He's not a back rower, though, is he, Ryan?
No. I don't think so. No.
No, that was Scotland playing about 8, wasn't it? Which, let's be honest, was ridiculous. And it just didn't. He is a good ball carrier, Seb, but he was never an 8. And I think that was to his detriment, actually. And that's what led him to getting an unfavourable reputation. Because for me, he's like Ben Carter. I think Ben Carter's really, really good, but he doesn't have the respect of other supporters in the same way as other locks do. And I think Seb Davis falls in that category where other supporters go, oh, Seb Davis, But I actually think he's a tidy player and he's very experienced.
Well, I think playing players at that position very, very rarely works. This is exactly what happened to Rhodri Jones, wasn't it? Rhodri Jones was absolutely quality. Well, Welsh national tight end. And then they shifted him across the scrum and, he never hit those heights again. Trying to square peg round hole just doesn't work. And I think this sort of trend of trying to have sort of utility back 5 players that are locks come blind sides very rarely ends up with a player who's sort of class in either position.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Let's go to our listeners' mailbox. Oh, we were inundated with listeners' comments, and we've got a very busy pod, so I got to run through these as quickly as I can. But thank you to everyone who's sent in their comments. So Stephen Everson says, we cannot afford to finish bottom Welsh region. Target the derbies for must-wins. Be competitive at home. Qualify for Europe. Don't quite know what he means by qualify for Europe. I'm guessing he means qualify for the knockout stages. Yeah, because we always qualify for Europe. We're always in European competition. That's what I guess he means. Find a strong centre partnership that gets our wingers and full back in space. Darren Elgar says the squad is much stronger. Successful season is win more than half our games at home, beat Cardiff and qualify for the knockout rounds in Europe. Chris Parry says on paper the recruitment looks very strong and the emphasis seems to be on players who can hit hard and break the game line. He says he wants at least 6 wins and ensuring any team that plays us at Rodney Parade goes away bloodied and battered and knows they have been in a battle. That should be the case every season.
And it hasn't been though, was it?
No. I don't think Rodney Parade is that. I mean, we spoke about this with Budgets. I don't think it's a tricky place for teams to come, but it used to be a horrible place for teams to come. And that's what we needed to get back to. Chris James says, I think recruitment has been better. Squad is still a high percentage of Gwent, let alone Welsh. Pathway is working, he says. Coaching setup has been strengthened with Patchell, McLeod and Ollie Griffiths. Just need those wins, he says. Yeah, fair enough. Ross Williams says, I'd say the squad is definitely stronger this year. On paper, we should be better, but we know we've been here before. Yes, we have many, many times before. I think Rio needs a big season. A lot of comments saying that Rio needs a big season, which is quite interesting. I don't think the system helps him personally, and I don't think he gets the service he requires. But a lot of people say Rio needs a big season, which, on the one hand, is understandable, but I think there's a caveat to that. He said, I feel like Rio was misfiring last season. Then again, not his fault that Harry Wilson couldn't pass for shit. Well, no, not really. 6 wins and I'll be happy, he says. Robert Hunt is my player to watch. Mark Jones says the squad certainly feels stronger, but as always, it's the hope that kills you. Absolutely. Stephen Down says he wants Dragons to qualify for the knockout rounds of the Challenge Cup, ideally with a home draw. His player to watch is Hugh Anderson. Chris Coleman, he says, needs a big season. Now he has competition for his place and has had a taste of the Welsh setup. Yep, absolutely. Dave Ashton says, need to change people's opinion of us once and for all. Loads of people saying we should cease to exist due to a lack of silverware. Dragons are fighting for survival this year. We need a good season. Come on, boys. Graham gets in touch. Hi, Graham. He's made several points, so let's run through them then. He says, first of all, we need consistency in team selection and start with our best team. There were some criticisms around Philo tinkering. He was a bit of a tinker man, wasn't he, last season? I think the Challenge Cup game against Montpellier, he was tinkering a lot. So, yeah, I understand what he means by that. He says he's got concerns about our attack coach. Okay, fair enough. He's got no complaints with signings. The best squad we've had for several seasons. He says he's excited to see how Funaki, Douglas and Finenisi go. He says, I think injuries won't be so bad this season. I have suspicions that Ryan Chambers wasn't right for the Dragons. I mean, we don't know what happened there, do we? I'm not going to comment on that because we don't know.
It's an interesting take.
Yeah. What did you make of that, Ryan? The Chambers going after a year. It seemed very strange, didn't it? After the build up and the hype of when we recruited him.
Yeah, I think it was not an exit I was expecting. I mean, our injury problems go back far longer than that, though. So
oh God,
I'm not
absolutely.
convinced that it's his conditioning approach that's led to this issue. We've struggled for a very long period of time. Some of that is luck. Some of it may be the system as a whole, or something that is taking or going on in that system. But I'd struggle to make the link specifically through to Chambers in that space.
Yeah, I wonder what happened though. Maybe I'll find out one day. It all seemed a bit strange, didn't it? Dan Hallett, someone you know, Ryan, from the chairman, the supporters club. Right, what's Dan got to say? Friend of the pod, actually, he's been on here a few times. Squad depth. 3 times, yeah, hat trick. Squad depth is probably the best we've ever had, especially forwards. The big ball carriers need to keep the opposition tight to the breakdown. So big things needed from like Funaki, Douglas and Martin. He says we need not to fall off a cliff after 50 minutes if that happens. Yes, we do have a tendency to do that, don't we? So yeah, thanks again in touch, Dan. John Parry says Rio needs a big season to get back in Wales team. A lot of comments about that. Says Dragons need to improve their goal kicking. We lost several games last season due to missed kicking opportunities. Very true. And he's expecting a big season from Mackenzie Martin. Chris Langan says we have a stronger squad. He says Rio Dyer, there's a bit of a theme here, needs a big season to get him back. To get himself back in the Wales squad. He says, I believe he is potentially better than some who get selected over him. It's tricky now, isn't it? Because Wales are bringing through some really good wingers, and it does feel like Rio is slightly falling down the pecking order, which I'm a bit concerned about. But yeah,
Tom Rogers is definitely getting the nod above him, and it's hard to disagree with that at the moment.
Yeah, but hopefully we will see Rio back in the Wales setup very soon. What does Chris want? He wants 6 league wins, including 2 derbies. His player to watch is Levi Douglas. Andy Salter says, possibly one of our best squads for a while. Rio needs a big year. Success for him is knockout stages of the Challenge Cup, beating the other regions at home, and a mid-table finish. Mid-table. Okay, fair enough, very optimistic. Hugh Anderson and Big Mac are his players to watch.
Is that the last comment from Gareth's burner account?
No comment. Dan Green says, best squad we've had for years. And he says, and this is very true, if they stay fit, yes. He thinks Anderson will have a big season. Dyer needs a big season. Whoever plays at 10 needs a lot of support from the pack and backline. Last season, he says, was just awful from the backs. Alan Carter says, I am worryingly hopeful. I am worryingly hopeful. I still think we are lacking at 10, he says. Back row and back 3 look very strong. Let's hope the new props work out. Absolutely. And then finally, Richard Dixon said the squad looks better. Rio needs some ball in space. Yeah, he does. He absolutely does. Carter has to stay injury-free. We need to win some of the close games to pick up some bonus points where possible. And he says he's looking forward to seeing Morgan Lloyd, Shea Hope, Hugh Anderson and Harry Ackerman get some game time. Okay, thank you very much for your comments. Some interesting thoughts there. Mid-table finish. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? I can't see it myself, but
no,
can't fault the optimism. Right, so before we make our predictions for the season, that's the big burning question. It's time for a Gwent Rugby Roundup. It's been a while, Gav, isn't it? Tell us, what's the latest?
It has. Well, I'm going to start with an apology. I'm going to start with an apology to the good people of Bargoed and Caerphilly, who, because I'm old and remember the old counties, in my head were Glamorgan sides and were there for Cardiff, but they are Dragons sides, so they will be in my roundup. But let's start with the SRC. A positive week in the SRC for Gwent clubs, apart from Newport, who lost 20 points to 27 at home to Llandovery on the Friday night. Evervale started their season with a good win at home, 36-17, and Pontypool beat Swansea 25-13. Into the Prem, and Bargoed, who I get to speak about now, they won 33-12 at home to Llangennech. Newbridge, less good start. They lost 33-5 away to Beddau. And Cross Keys in a thriller edged Brecon 25-24. Into the Championship, Glamorgan Wanderers 48, Talwyn 10. Not a great start to the season for Talwyn. St Joseph's versus Bedwas was postponed. I'm not sure why that is. Treorchy 28, Aberdeen Blind and Gwent 10. And your boys Annisty with a good win at home, 28-20 at home to Penaltha.
Up the D's.
Into Division 1, Caerphilly are in Division 1 East Central, but they didn't play this weekend. We're in Division 1 East. Very hard-fought local derby. Blaenau 20, Bryn Mawr 16. Into Division 2 East, Abercorn 22, Rumney 21. And Greg had a picture on his Twitter account of the Abercorn game, and it was sunny there, not raining. So, that's the one day of the year for Abercorn, which was always the wettest place I ever played when I was a kid. Caldecott 31, Usk 22. Another local derby, Cumbran 21, Croeso Ceiliog 23. Newport Saracens 24, Pill Harriers 20, and another local derby. And Sengen is 8, Pontypool United 17. Division 3, Chepstow 29, Fleur-de-Lis 22. Garndifai 13, Nantiglow 29. Caerleon made the long trip to Gwynafyd and lost 31-13. And my local side, because it was literally outside my house, RTB Ebervale 35, Machen 28. Division 4 East, Abertwsog 3, Derry 45. A very local derby, Bedwellty 13, Oakdale 27. And then another local derby, and perhaps not quite the feast of running rugby, Llanilla 3, Crumlin 0. Tredegar Ironsides 13, Crickhowell 19. And Whitehead 36, Ponton Fife 27. And I have no idea what the weather was like in South Wales yesterday, but I assumed it was raining in Llanillas because it always is. Division 5 East, the one scheduled game between Hollybush and Beaufort was postponed. Division 6 East, Brynifel 19, Ultalarians 22. Hirwain 3, friend of the pod, New Tredegar 14. And St Julian's High School Old Boys 28, Mago 10. And into the Athletic League, so Bedwas Athletic 36, Blackwood Griffin 35. An excellent game there, I imagine. Machen Quarryman 24, Newport High School Old Boys Expendables 49. And Pill Development 10, Chepstow Druids 10.
Is that it, Gav?
It is, that's all our games. I'd be interested if anyone can tell me why those games were postponed. It'd be rather worrying if it's about lack of players at this stage in the season.
Good to hear the Gwent Rugby Roundup return. I've missed it. It's it's that time of the year now, and it's really good. Okay, let's look at the season ahead now. The fixture list is up for you to see. Just like last season, we've got a very difficult block. And just like last season, it could go horribly wrong and set the tone for the rest of the season if we don't get it right in the first block. We got Ulster away first up. That is going to be tough. I don't think Ulster I don't think they are the force they once were. But going to Belfast is very, very tough. Welsh teams don't do well there in general.
Not usually, no.
We've only won twice in Belfast. So we won in 2004, 28-21, and then we won in 2008, 16-14. We did actually draw back in 2010, 22-all, but it's a very tough place to go. So I'm not too optimistic. And then you've got the Sharks at home. That feels massive, even though it's only the second game of the season. It'd be really good to get that monkey off the back. We haven't beaten one of the South African Big Four yet in the URC. Glasgow away is going to be tough. We've actually got a good head-to-head record against Glasgow, but in recent years we've taken an absolute walloping whenever we've got up there. We got Cardiff then at home, who we never beat. And then we got the Ospreys, which should have been an away game, I was told. But because there was the uncertainty over St. Helens, they brought it forward to a home game. And then you got Leinster at home. That's a really tough opening block, isn't it, Ryan? And what are your expectations from that block? Because, like I said, this feels to me like deja vu last season where, okay, we were competitive, but we wasn't winning. And ultimately, Dave Flanagan lost his job. So it's pretty important block, isn't it?
It is, and I think you're right to identify the Sharks game as really, really important. I mean, so I've got the results here from the two games. After we beat the Ospreys at home, we lost to the Sharks 33-30 at home, and then we lost to the Lions 23-19. Both games we should have won, I think.
Yes.
And if we were 3 from 4 at that point in time, because I think we played Leinster away in the middle of that, that's a really different complexion on the season.
Guy keeps his job.
But from that moment on, it just momentum. We mentioned it in terms of the game itself, but momentum as a team is just incredibly important. And I think if we're able to get a win in that Sharks game, I think that makes a huge difference. I mean, if you look at that, the first, I think it's the first 5 games, isn't it, up until the international break starts? I think you've got to be looking at 10 points out of that. I think 10, at least 10, probably 12. I think in that space, to get off to a really good start. And I think there are opportunities there. So I think Ulster and Glasgow away, really challenging. I think the 3 home games are up for grabs. And if we want to be improving, those are the 3 sort of games we need to be winning.
Yeah, quite right. Completely agree. Gavin, when you look at the first 6 fixtures, it's really tough, isn't it? But the Dragons, when you look at that, you think, okay, there got to be at least 2 or 3 wins in it. Surely, for that to be a successful first block this season, we got to be winning those home games and winning against Sharks. I know we got a stinking record against Cardiff, but we got to stop throwing away the game because we always throw it away against Cardiff at Rodney Parade. And Ospreys, who we have a very good record against at Rodney Parade. We need a couple of 2 or 3 wins here, don't we? How do you feel looking at that block of fixtures?
2 wins is par for me. So 3 would be better. Anything less than 2 wins, and we're already on a sticky wicket to really mix my sporting metaphors. You know, I think if we don't win the 3rd one, and I think the wins will come from potentially Sharks, Cardiff, Ospreys. If we don't win all 3, then there needs to be bonus points in any we don't win. You know, Leinster will be, wherever it is, it'll be Leinster. And Ulster will be tough. And Warriors as well. Glasgow are a good side. But the other 3, we really have to be focusing on those games.
Yeah. Gareth, what about you? How important is this block of fixtures? Because I'm getting horrible. I know the season hasn't started yet, but I'm getting deja vu vibes here. I think if it goes wrong, it's going to end up like last season. And if we mess up the first block, it's going to knock out confidence, because that's pretty much what happened, wasn't it, last season?
And there are must-win games there, because those 3 home games, they are, on paper, they are winnable. It's frustrating. We are a new side. We've had a lot of players coming together, and you'd like to think we can improve throughout the season. But if we don't pick up enough points in that first block, what's that going to do to confidence? I would absolutely love us to go and beat the Sharks and beat Cardiff, 2 massive monkeys off our backs. That would do us the world of good. The away fixtures are tough. Look, I think we go strong away in Ulster, ready then for a big game on a Friday night against the Sharks. I'd probably rotate at Glasgow, knowing it's a short turnaround, that 6-day turnaround to the Cardiff game. I mean, yeah, 2 wins, I agree with Gavin, is probably par, because it means we get at least one of the monkeys off our back of either beating Cardiff or a South African side, if the other one was the Ospreys. But I mean, if we won 3, we're in absolute dreamland, and it gives us such a springboard for the rest of the season. But yeah, I mean, it's the players who need to go out and do it. I want to be optimistic, but we've been burned a fair few times
Haven't we
optimistic about us.
Haven't
So,
we just? Yeah.
but yeah, I think it's all on those home games. If we can win, if we can beat the Sharks and Cardiff, I'd be really, really pleased.
Yeah, we don't need to worry about the Ospreys because we always beat them at Ronnie Parade, don't
Yeah.
we? So, that's a very arrogant thing to say, and I do apologise to all my Ospreys supporting friends. I'm just joking, you know that. Although that is the one game that will send a shiver down the Osprey supporter spines. They really don't like coming to Ronnie Parade, the Ospreys. they could win the double and they'd still lose at Ronnie Parade.
Yeah.
But, I don't know what it is. They don't like it down here at all. That Ulster game, look, go strong. I want us to be competitive. I want us to take a losing bonus point out of it. It's no good going there. First game of the season, we're all full of optimism, and then we lose like 43-10. That's no good. You know, I want us to be competitive because I think if you get something out of that game and you are competitive and you got positives, you can take that into the Sharks game. We don't want to go up first game, get absolutely hammered, and then we're under pressure straight away for the Sharks game. Also, I know there's a lot of emphasis on home games, and I completely get that. And we've all heard it a million times where Ronnie Parade needs to be a fortress, tough place to come, etc. Is it too much to ask to win a game away, though? Because our away record in the URC is absolutely embarrassing. We have not won an away game since April 2022. And I'm sorry, for a professional rugby club, that is embarrassing, and that's got to change. And I'm not expecting them to go away to Ulster and win. I'm not expecting them to go to Glasgow away, but we've got to pick up an away win somewhere because this wretched record away just can't continue. It's absolutely embarrassing. So, we've got to win those home games, haven't we, in that block? And I think that if we win them, I think we're in a good place. If not, it'll be like last season. And then the second half of the season, we'll all be thinking, yeah, it's over again. Won't it? You know, we'll have that horrible deja vu feeling. So, big fixtures there in that first block. And in terms of the Challenge Cup then, so we're away to Perpignan. That's going to be a tough game. I know they're not going to have their full strength squad, but still, it's going to be tough. Any game in France is tough. We're at home then to Lyon. That's going to be very tough. We saw what they did to the Ospreys when they came to Swansea. They completely outmuscled them, and you don't often see Ospreys getting outmuscled, do you? Then we're away to Benetton. Tricky fixture, but winnable. I think that's winnable, dare I say? Is it winnable? I think so. I know they're a good team. And then we got the Newcastle Red Bulls. So it'd be interesting to see how they go with all their investment. It's going to be tough, isn't it, Europe? There's no guarantees we can get out of that pool. How do we feel about Europe? Brian, do you want to, because you got a smile on your face now.
I mean, I think you have to target getting out of the pool, don't you? I mean, there are only 6 teams that go out at the group stage of the Challenge Cup. So the bottom 2 in each of the 3 pools.
I think it's for the progress, isn't it? And the bottom 2 don't go through. Is that right? I think it is.
Yeah, I think so. And the top 3 get home draws, and then the 4th place team gets the away draw, and then 5th and 6th don't go through. So, yeah, it's actually, you put it that way, it's only a very limited number of teams that don't make it through. However, it's not an easy set of fixtures. Even with all of the stuff that's going on with Newcastle, I would still hope that we are able to beat them at home. Those changes will take a while to implement. I know it's a cliche with the French teams, but it genuinely depends on how seriously they are taking the European competition come that point in time. So, by the time we get to sort of the Christmas period of time, let's see how well Perpignan and Lyon are doing in the top 14. But if they're taking it seriously, then they're both very, very difficult fixtures, home and away, aren't they? It's hard, isn't it? Because it's not all within our own hands in these tables in this format. You play 4 teams, but there's 6 teams in the group. But you can only put yourself in those positions. So, yeah, I think you have to target qualification. I think anything less is a disappointment. And even if it is an away knockout fixture in Europe, just having a knockout fixture, even though it is the Challenge Cup and the current format, I think that has to be the target.
Okay, here's a question for you then, Gareth. How important is the Challenge Cup? Should we be fully focused on the URC and sort of, rotate for the Challenge Cup, or do you want to see us give the Challenge Cup a good crack? How do you think we should approach it?
It is important. I pay for my ticket to go over and watch us perform, no matter what the competition is. If it's a competitive game, it's important. I didn't agree with all the selection last season, which we went into. It's again, we touched on momentum from that first block. if we can pick up wins, we go into Europe with a bit of momentum, with a bit of confidence, and suddenly Rodney Parade, it can become a tough place for teams to play. It hasn't been for a long time. We haven't had momentum for a long time, but we can create that sort of fortress. So if we pick up those wins, hopefully that then follows into Europe. Yes, it is a tough group, but we should be targeting getting out that group. And then knockout rugby, anything can happen. I think it's just as important. We should be looking to pick up wins in any competitive game, regardless of whether it be in cup or league.
Yeah. And if you go a home knockout tie, that's something to look forward to, isn't it? We want to be involved in later stages, and it's extra revenue for the club as well.
Mhm.
So it's really important, I think, that we give it a good crack. Sorry, Gaff, what was you going to add then?
I was going to say, like, having something to look forward to is huge. I don't want the season to be over before Christmas.
I could always this, yeah.
Like, even if we're way down in the tape and you're going, there is a mathematical chance if every other team fluff it, we could, even when you've got that, I want to sit here working out how we can get 8th in the league if miracles happen when there's still a few games to go. I just don't want the season to be over, because what is the point then? And it's far too often. It's harder to get punters to go in. Why do you want to go over for what is essentially then an uncompetitive match? There's nothing on them.
No, absolutely. And Gavin, we spoke about on the pod, Philo selection. We called it a tombola, didn't we? Tia's tombola. Me and Gareth went to the Q&A, and it was actually brought up there, wasn't it, about Philo selection? Yeah. And even Rhys Blumberg was at a loss. I mean, we still should have won, but there has to be some rotation. But we got to get the balance right, Gavin, because I think supporters want to see us give Europe a good crack.
Yeah, and we talked about it last year. We aren't going to win the URC, and we. Sorry, Gareth, to break that to you. And
oh, you've broken his poor little heart now.
and we're not even going to get in the top 8, are we?
But we're very negative, Gavin. Bloody hell, I thought I was the negative one on this podcast.
And as Ryan said, getting to a knockout stage, home or away, we've achieved something that we've broken through that barrier. So and I think it's important to have small steps of progress. And that would be a significant small step of progress this season. So let's put a bit of effort into it. We've got a stronger squad. It's deeper. Let's not put, it's a bit like playing third-team rugby, some of the selections he made in the Cup European competitions last year. So, my mate's coming along. Can he bring his boots? It's like, my level of rugby. Not quite that bad, but you know what I mean?
No, not quite that bad.
No. But, it needs to be more considered and thought about for me.
Yeah. But we have got a bit more depth this year, so we can rotate, but we can't throw the baby out with the bathwater like Philo did, I think, and play a load of kids, because that just won't fly, I don't think. I don't think we can get away with that. We're not Leinster. We can't do that, I'm afraid. Right, the big question to finish on. It's been a long one, gents. I appreciate that. Thank you for your time tonight. But we've covered a lot, haven't we? Last question, I promise. It's the big one. Where will Dragons finish in the URC and the Challenge Cup? Your honest predictions and your reasonings behind it. Gavin, I'll start with you. Where are we going to finish in URC and Europe?
15th in the URC. I think we'll win more games, but I think the teams around us will win more games as well. But I think we'll be better than Zebra. And in Europe, I do think it's a tough selection of ties. And with Red Bulls suddenly being a bit richer, I think we'll probably go out in the group stage again.
Okay, lovely positive stuff there. Gareth, what about you? Where will we finish in the URC table, and how far will we get to in the Challenge Cup?
I'm going to go for 13th.
Hang on a minute now. Hang on. You've changed. You've changed your prediction. In the group chat, you were saying 15th. I know what's happened. You've had two preseason wins, and you're getting carried away already, aren't you?
2 preseason wins, 2 beers whilst I was watching it. Yeah.
You've changed your prediction.
We've got a scrum. It counts for a lot. Look, I'm going for 13th. And I'm not interested or worried about who's going to be worse than us. We're responsible for the points we can get on that table. And I believe we've got the pack that can go and win games at Rodney Parade now. and we've got an outside half that can dictate play. I've warmed to Tina Stabia. Yeah, I'm going for 13th. I think we'll get some scalps this season. You know, it's hardly dizzy heights, is it? But
Looks like you're reaching for the stars here, like, are we?
Yeah, but it would still be a huge improvement. I mean, 15th is an improvement.
It is.
Like, I wouldn't be solely against it as long as it's not 16th. But yeah, and I think we'll get to the quarterfinals, but probably suffer an away defeat. But if we could get a home tie in the quarterfinal, dreamland. And I want to be able to mathematically be in with a chance of the playoffs, even with like 6 games to go. Just give me something to hold on to.
No, that's dreamland right there.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Oh, fair play to you. You know, there's some listeners will like the
fair play.
positivity.
That's what I say to my 4-year-old.
Fair play. You know, you're all excited. Couple
It's
of
not like I'm
shandies,
believing in
couple of
Father
pre-seasons
Christmas.
win.
Just finishing 13th.
It's positive. It's really good positive stuff. Right then, Ryan. Where do you think we'll finish in the URC table and the Challenge Cup, please?
So I'm going to split the difference, and I'm going to go 14th in the league. It's incredibly congested, actually. I've got the table from last season in front of me here. Edinburgh in 7th won 8. Ulster in 14th won 7. So collecting bonus points, both winning and losing, is incredibly important. And actually, you know, Zebra, 15th, 5 games. You know, people are talking 5 or 6 games winning as a good season. That would only be, what Zebra won last year. Now, that's still a significant improvement.
Still improvement, yeah.
It's a massive improvement. I'm going to say 14th, but honestly, I think if you win 5 or 6 games, I think you could literally be anywhere from 11th to 16th in the table. But I'm going to go 14th. I think we will get out of the group stages. I think we'll have an away away round of 16 tie and lose that in Europe.
Sorry, round of 16 is what I meant, not quarterfinal. I skipped around.
No, you didn't. That's what you meant. You meant quarterfinals.
We're going all the way, boys.
Answer.
We're going all the way.
My prediction in URC table, I'm going for 15th, same as Gavin. What I will say is I think we will be significantly improved from last season. We will win more games. But unfortunately, I still think we will be the bottom Welsh team. I still think we're going to struggle. I hope to God that we have luck with injuries. Because if we get the usual injury crisis that we suffer every year, we're going to struggle. We have got to beat Cardiff. We've got to get that monkey off our backs. I think we definitely target the Welsh teams. So we will make improvement. I think this is a big season, actually, for the coaches as well as the players. I think there are still question marks over Philo Tiatia as head coach. Let's not forget he hasn't won a URC game yet. He's won just 1 game since taking charge of the Dragons. That was away.
Back down to earth.
Well, I'm sorry to bring you stats and facts, but this is the reality. But
that is,
his win rate with the Dragons is just 6%, and it is a big year for Philo. I like him a lot, but there are question marks around him as head coach. There are question marks around Matt O'Brien as a tap coach. I think we've bolstered the coaching setup. It's great to have Patchell, Ollie with us, and Dan Lydiard. I think they're really positive additions. But that's what I'm going for. I'm going for 15th in URC, improved with more wins, but some struggles as well, because we are in a very competitive league. And the fact of the matter is, yes, we have recruited well, but so have other teams. And that's the reality, isn't it? So I'm going for 15th. Challenge Cup, I was going to say we don't make it out to the group, but you know what? I'm going to be positive. I'm going to say last 16, like Ryan, but we get an away tie and we get battered by 70 points to Glasgow.
I went to that
battered. Oh dear. But no, I am positive. I'm optimistic. It may not sound it, but I think 15th is, that would still be an improvement, no matter what anyone says. That would still be an improvement on last season, which, let's be honest, it cannot get any worse than last season.
Is 15th enough for Buttress to go to the awards night?
That's the question. I mean, if I'll fly off some missing kicks in front of the posts, because we know that's what triggered Buttress, and it triggered me as well, to be honest. That was just completely unacceptable, wasn't it? So we don't want to see that.
No.
We do not want to see that, but no. I do think we will see progress. But I will say it again, that first block is massive. And my fear is if we don't win those home games and we lose the away games, and that away block we get 1 or maybe no wins, I think we're going to be struggling for the rest of the season. it's so important we win those home games in the first block. But I'm feeling optimistic. Doesn't sound like it, does it, 15th? But honestly, I am. I know it sounds a bit strange to say, but I honestly think 15th.
We can't forget we won one game. You know, we're starting at such a low.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's still improvement. So
and that's the problem, see, because Phil hasn't won a URC game. That carries on into next season. So you lose against Ulster, then that losing run continues, doesn't it? So he needs wins on the board pretty early. And I want Philo to do well. I loved Philo at the Ospreys. I think he's one of the best overseas players we had in Welsh rugby. I got a lot of time and respect for him. But there are still question marks over his as head coach. There are. Yeah. And, you know, after the way that Dave Flanagan departed as well, it's really important that we get a good first block and give supporters something to cheer about, because I don't know about you boys, but I'm fed up of every season looking forward, feeling positive, feeling hopeful, and then by week 6 or week 7, it's like, oh, same old Dragons. It gets boring, doesn't it? We got to see the Dragons kick on now. So, yeah. Okay. I think we'll leave it there. It's been a long one. It's been a bumper pod. Thank you very much for your patience. Ryan, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me.
Not a problem. I was going to say, where can people find you on X? But you don't like using X at the moment for very sensible and understandable reasons, don't you?
I have very little self-control, so I find it easier just to not to go on it.
Brilliant. Fair enough.
Particularly during games.
Okay. You're at Dave's Parade, though, in case anyone's interested. Yeah. Okay. Gavin and Gav, thank you as always. Oh, just before we go, just one thing. So we've had comments from our listeners asking us, can we get a player on the pod to interview? Now, I've been in contact with the club for how long, Gareth? Weeks?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's been a while. I've been asking for weeks and weeks and weeks. And look, I know there's a lot going on at the club. It's understandable. I'm not oblivious to what's going on. But I would really appreciate it if anyone that Dragons listen to this, can you please give us a player to come on the pod? We did bump into Carwyn, didn't we? From media yesterday, Gareth.
We did.
We did. He says he will have a player for us next week.
He did. Looking forward to it. Cheers, Carwyn.
Thank you, Carwyn. He's going to keep his word. It's Carwyn. He's a good bloke, and he'll do that for us.
And now I know what he looks like.
He will keep his word. I'm sure he will, because he won't want to disappoint us or the listeners, because we've told him now we're going to have a player on. So it'd be really appreciated if you could do that. So yeah, just hoping. We don't know who we're going to get on. No idea. We would just like a player to interview. It'd be good to have one of the new signings, wouldn't it?
Yes.
It'd be really good. But
or a coach.
Yeah. Or a coach. Yeah, absolutely. We're not fussy. We'll have anyone who's willing to come on the pod and have a chat. But yeah, we would appreciate it. So hopefully, maybe we'll have a player on for you next week. But we'll have to wait and see. Okay, yeah, thank you again, gents. Thank you to our friends at Riverside Sports Bar for their continued support of the podcast. Thank you to our listeners. And until next time, thank you for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one. Ta-ra.